Chapter 30. Han Bingning was shocked. Principal, you don't have to, everyone is working hard. Star Wind Martial meets preliminary competition, although it was often hailed as a breeding ground for black horses, but it was actually a competition ground for low-leveled competitors. The real experts, with a bit of fame, would be selected as seeded competitors, and directly enter the main competition. The cold laughter made Amauri immediately become well-behaved like a good baby. Every generation of the Crane sect, who knows how many people spend their entire lives searching for ways to train the crane body. The middle-aged lady said seriously, Crane's spiritual master was able to rely on his own strength to create the heavenly crane constellation. How valiant was he! In the past 300 years, other than Lion King Leong, who subdued the raging Lionheart sword and established the supreme hegemony of Leo constellation, who else could accomplish such a feat? To be able to rely on his own strength in heaven's road, to create his own constellation, are all heaven-defying experts. Their true teachings are the world's top martial arts. She regretted bringing the ink scale armor today. Old Fart Wei shouted as though he was injected with chicken blood. Young man! For the great revival of Caramel Academy, fight! There are so many people in the preliminary competition. Amauri was shocked. Tang Tian? The middle-aged lady shook her head. I have never heard of him, seems like he is really new. Bing Ning, you must be careful against this person, you must not let your guard down. The crane body has a special characteristic that very few people know, and that is, its chi is long, and its endurance is astonishing. The crane chi is continuous, curling in spirals. When Boss Liang Qiu said to watch the preliminary competition, Ming Guang felt that it was inconceivable. Preliminary competition? What did the preliminary competition have to do with them? They were all seeded competitors. Ming Guang was ranked 10th in the Beast Academy, so of course he did not need to go through the preliminary competition. Tang Tian replied, and subconsciously walked in the direction that little Nan Nan pointed. Old Fart Wei jumped up as though his tail was stepped on. Amauri, you actually don't have any other thoughts about the school situation? Shouldn't your blood be boiling, and fight to change the school's predicament? Tang Tian's eyelids were extremely heavy, and as long as he found a place, he would be able to fall asleep. Last night, he had just gone through a round of bitter cultivation. After 10 days of bitter cultivation, he was completely exhausted. In the end, not long after he fell asleep, he was pulled up by old Fart Wei to participate in the preliminaries. What made them even more surprised was that Senior Wang Zhen actually had a face of approval. Tian Lin and Mingguang looked at each other. They couldn't figure out what went wrong with the two seniors. The Star Wind Martial Meet was Star Wind City's biggest festival. Not only did the various academies of Star Wind City participate in the martial meet, there were also many martial artists that came from other places. The Star Wind Martial Meet was not only limited to students, it was an open competition. The generous prizes attracted a large number of foreign martial artists. My God! Am I seeing things? Isn't that Liang Qiu? My idol! Tang Tian yawned and turned to leave. Amauri looked at old Fart Wei sympathetically, and turned to look for the competition grounds. The number of pedestrians on the streets was several times more than usual, and almost all the inns were overcrowded. The four of them went in two different directions. This change was out of everyone's expectations. Some of the students who were not participating in the competition followed behind. A beautiful middle-aged lady, with a small piece of ink scale in her hand, had a hint of surprise in her beautiful eyes. The opponent and the judge had not arrived yet. Without saying a word, Tang Tian fell asleep. His head had just touched the ground, and loud snoring sounds immediately rose and fell. Bang! A fist fell from the sky, and heavily smashed on his head. Liang Qiu turned a blind eye to these gazes, and said indifferently, I'm going to see Amauri. The students who participated in the preliminaries were all from ordinary academies. Seeing their idol, they were extremely excited. Suddenly, the middle-aged lady thought of a question that had been ignored for a long time. Bing Ning, who is this person? Could it be that I have not been out for a long time? When did Star Wind City have a new genius? Fundamental Tang, are you excited? A Maori turned to ask Tang Tian. Crane body energy? Han Bingning had never heard of this name before. Star Wind Martial Meet has preliminaries? A Maori was surprised. Why didn't I know about it? Practice minute collapsing fist. Tang Tian continued to yawn, his expression sluggish. Liang Qiu's weird suggestion made Tian Lin and Ming Guang feel weird. Senior Liang Qiu was the most popular candidate for the champion of Star Wind Martial Meet, and he actually came to watch the preliminaries? The Crane sect has lost its true inheritance, and has been in decline for many years. The position of the heavenly crane constellation in the past is something you can't imagine now. The middle-aged lady was full of emotions. She shook her head and sighed. Never did I expect to see the true inheritance of the crane sect here. No way. The middle-aged lady waved her hand and straightforwardly interrupted Han Bingning's words. In this period of time, I have been too lax. I want to lead by example and fight on the front lines. Wang Jin nodded. I'm going to see Tang Tian. No matter what, she could not connect the rude and unruly fellow with the current world's strongest martial artist. Tian Lin and Ming Guang looked at each other. Tian Lin followed boss Liang Qiu, while Ming Guang followed boss Wang Jin. The number of martial artists participating in this year's martial meet was the highest ever. On the light body technique ropeway outside the city, there were many figures, stepping on all kinds of light body techniques, shuttling back and forth. When the four of them arrived at the venue, they were immediately frightened by the terrifying flow of people. The densely packed human flow, bustling with activity, and the astonishing sound waves rumbled. Tang Tian and a Maori were dumbstruck. They wanted to see what kind of competition could actually attract the four seated participants. She passed the ink scale to Han Bingning and said, The crane sect's mental cultivation technique is called Crane-Style Chi Manual. Crane-Style Chi Manual is cryptic and hard to understand. The difficulty of training is extremely high. The true inheritance of Crane-Style Chi Manual is called the Crane Body. It is rumored, upon training the Crane Body, the true power will be as sharp as a crane's beak. The destructive power will be extremely strong, so it is also called the Crane Body Energy. I don't know what happened in the Crane sect, but they lost the true inheritance, and now no one knows how to train the Crane Body. I never thought I would actually see it here. Old Fart Wei's expression was not good. A Maori, if you lose the competition today, hee. So powerful? Han Bingning's beautiful eyes widened. The principal's tone was filled with praise, which was extremely rare. What's there to see in the preliminary competition? Ming Guang mumbled. He did not dare to speak loudly. For these four experts to appear in the preliminary competition, it was such a strange thing. Oh, that's right, the third last rank school should start fighting from the preliminary competition. A Maori's face was suddenly enlightened. Han Bingning's face was slightly pale. The principal was a real training maniac. Once he started training, it would be a nightmare for her to supervise the training. After a long time, she retracted her gaze. But since the two big bosses had spoken, they could only obediently obey. Time passed quickly. As the Star Wind Martial Meet approached, Star Wind City became lively. Heavenly Crane Constellation? Han Bingning was surprised. She had heard of this constellation before, but it was a very obscure constellation. Why would a Beast Academy student need to participate in the preliminary competition? Beast Academy is such a famous school, of course they don't need to participate in the preliminary competition. Old Fartway said, Our recent situation is not too good, we have to start from the preliminary competition. Hey, Old Fart, why did you pull us here so early? You're delaying our sleep time. Tang Tian complained as he walked. Little Nan Nan sat on his shoulder, her face full of satisfaction as she ate her snacks. the middle-aged lady muttered to herself. He should have only obtained the mental cultivation technique. If not, he would not have trained in the minute collapsing fist, although this minute collapsing fist is rather mature, but compared to the crane sex martial techniques, it is still lacking. Hall 3897. A large number of martial artists participated, causing the Star Wind martial meet to become even more lively and attractive. Many people specially came from faraway cities to Star Wind City to observe the martial meet. This is the crane body energy. The middle-aged lady put down the ink scale. Yes, very few people know about it now. The middle-aged lady muttered. The crane sect originated from the crane spiritual master. Today's heavenly crane constellation is the constellation he opened up in Heaven's Road. The crane spiritual master's background is unknown. It is highly possible that he is a descendant of the ancient Eastern sections. Non-seeded participants all have to start from the preliminary competition. Old Fartway was very calm. He took out a piece of paper from his bosom, lowered his head and looked through it carefully, his mouth muttering. Oh, Amaury is at Hall 5267, Young Tang is at Hall 3897. Hey, do you see that sign? You guys go check your own venue location. This is your competition pass, keep it well. Idiot, participate in the preliminary competition. Old Fartway looked at him with disdain. Genius young man in his eyes, the preliminary competition was just a competition between a few people who did not make the cut. The real experts' competition were all carried out by the seated participants. Nan Nan sat on Tang Tian's shoulder, looking around. Suddenly her eyes lit up, grabbing onto Tang Tian's hair with all her might, the other hand pointed to the right front, shouting, "Big brother, there, there!" It was all because of that damn Tang Tian. But everyone did not understand such an expert. Why would he come to watch the preliminary competition? There must be an inside story. Han Bingning's mouth twitched. She forcefully endured. It's Caramel Academy's Tang Tian. What did you do last night? Old Fartway asked curiously. Han Bingning did not reply. The middle-aged lady suddenly stood up, muttering to herself. Seems like I have been too relaxed recently. From today onwards, I will personally supervise your training. Minute collapsing fist? That is too exciting. Fundamental Tang, let us fight to our heart's content. With Chia. Amaury raised his blade and shouted. The students at the venue were all discussing. These 4 people were all Star Wind City's academies. All of them were famous experts. As for Liang Qiu and Wang Zhen, they were idol-level experts, with countless of admirers. Han Bingning's cherry lips slightly opened. She was flabbergasted. She felt that the principal was getting more and more ridiculous. I want to sleep. Tang Tian yawned. Liang Qiu, Wang Zhen, Tianlin, Ming Guang, hiss, what is the Beast Academy trying to do? Only 4 of the top 10 are here? Don't tell me the Beast Academy has some amazing people participating in the preliminary competition? The 4 of them lined up, appearing in the venue, and immediately caused a commotion. Liang Qiu had an indifferent temperament, Wang Zhen was deep and honest, Tianlin was arrogant and cold, Ming Guang was lively and handsome. The 4 of them had different temperaments, but they formed a striking scene. Chapter 31. Kai Shui and He Shaoqin quickly ran over. The spectators who were originally blocking the stands immediately turned pale, and turned their heads to look at Sima Xiangshan in fear. Why is she here? At the entrance of the stands, there was an impenetrable crowd. They could not squeeze in. The 5 of them did not expect that the stands for the preliminaries would be so small. It could only accommodate 200 to 300 people. Their competition venue could accommodate thousands of people. That was why they thought of disguising themselves, hoping to not attract attention. Please make way. Sima Xiangshan's voice was soft, but it could be heard by everyone. Low profile, low profile. Sima Xiangshan lowered his voice. He was wearing a woman's mask with heavy makeup on his face. He was dressed gorgeously. Those who did not know would think that he was a woman. The rumbling came to an abrupt stop. The expressions of the excited crowd instantly froze on their faces. Sima Xiangshan. What kind of person was worth Brother Zhen making a trip here? Mingguang suddenly lowered his voice. Brother Zhen, there seems to be a lot of people following behind. In the dead silence, Tang Tian opened his eyes in a daze. Xin Yuan had just come out from his closed-door training when he was dragged by Boss Sima. He. Behind the thick mask there was a creepy laughter. Sima Xiangshan seemed to have discovered something interesting. A large group of people rushed in. When they saw Wang Zhen and Mingguang, their eyes lit up. They surrounded them. The small stands were filled with people. To watch the preliminaries, such a lame excuse. How could the principal agree to it? Kai Shui and He Xiaoqin stared at the two people from Crystal Sky Academy. Crystal Sky and Northern Yen, the first and second place, naturally would not have a friendly relationship. Wang Zhen sensed something. He turned his face and looked at the entrance of the stands. Everyone was familiar with each other. They had fought against each other countless times. Wang Zhen was one of the big shots of Beast Academy. Everyone's status and experience were similar. Sima Xiangshan. Then, they saw Wang Zhen and Mingguang. His strong strength and weird personality made him an existence that everyone feared. Big Brother Sima, we don't have to be so sneaky, right? Xin Yuan touched the mask on his face and couldn't help but say. Let's go and see the guy who defeated you. Sima Xiangshan's voice came from behind the mask, revealing an indescribable hair-raising feeling, causing goosebumps to appear all over Xin Yuan's body. But no one would think so. However, in a venue that could only accommodate 200 people, these 5 people could no longer be described as eye-catching. They were like the bright moon in the dark night, so eye-catching that they couldn't be any more eye-catching. Suddenly, Sima Xiangshan stopped in his tracks and turned around. Why are there so many people? Xin Yuan's face was filled with astonishment. This was only the preliminary round, but the viewing platform was actually filled with people. This was too illogical. The two sides, who were at daggers drawn, suddenly disappeared without a trace. Senior Sister Han suddenly brought them to the principal, saying that they were going to watch the Star Wind martial meet preliminaries. At that time, their hearts were filled with worry. If Senior Sister wanted to find an excuse to leave the school, she should have found a more reliable excuse. 3 mysterious veiled women and 2 mysterious masked men suddenly appeared on the small viewing platform, instantly attracting everyone's attention. Tang Tian drowsily looked at the viewing platform that was filled with people. Suddenly, he noticed Han Bingning on the viewing platform. Isn't Senior Sima here too? Han Bingning's voice was as cold as ice, without the slightest fluctuation. De Zhen, you always make things difficult for me. Sima Xiangshan sighed helplessly and took off his mask. Han Bingning's face did not seem to have any fluctuations, but in a place where others couldn't see, the fingers that were holding the sword had turned white. Senior Sister, which competition are we going to watch? Kai Shui asked curiously. Xin Yuan's gaze landed on Boss Sima's mask, and he felt a wave of nausea. Boss Sima's hobby was always so strange. Luckily, his own mask was still relatively normal, just an ordinary clown mask. Xin Yuan's eyelids twitched, and his expression changed slightly. In the entire Starwind City, there were only 2 people who could contend against Boss Sima, Han Bingning and Liang Qiu. Xin Yuan had fought with Boss Sima many times before, and Boss Sima's strength made him unable to muster up the courage to resist. Tang Tian's spirit was roused, and he immediately raised his arm up high, waving it towards the viewing platform, and shouted loudly. Sima Xiangshan moved to the side, and made a "please" gesture. When the others on the viewing platform heard this, their ears immediately perked up. Wang Zhen's tone was so familiar, then these 5 people must not have simple backgrounds. Everyone's gaze turned towards Han Bingning. Cruel, ruthless, temperamental, neurotic, these 4 words made that devilish mask suddenly seem to have an additional frightening luster. This What kind of preliminary competition was this? Boss Sima's strength was unfathomable. Even the always strict principal looked at him in a different light. No matter if it was Sima Xiangshan or Han Bingning, they were all speechless by Wang Zhen's words. Couldn't this guy just pretend not to know? Kai Shui and He Xiaoqin said at the same time. Sima Xiangshan's footsteps were extremely light, so light that there was no sound at all. His figure suddenly seemed to be covered with a layer of faint black halo, and an extremely dangerous aura instantly enveloped the entire audience. In the deafening sound, Han Bingning's expression was indifferent, and she did not move an inch. The viewing platform immediately exploded. Oh, probably not. Wang Zhen replied. Interesting. Behind the veil, Han Bingning's tone was like frost, and her beautiful eyes flashed a trace of playfulness. Miss Bingning. It has nothing to do with us. Ming Guang did not know where Brother Zhen's confidence came from. Ming Guang's heart was already very curious, although Brother Zhen's temper was quite good, but to specially come to the venue to watch a preliminary competition, this kind of thing had never happened before. Not far behind him, 3 women wearing veils and bamboo hats looked over from afar. Both sides just stared at each other from afar. But Star Wind City, when did such a powerful person appear? Oh, it's okay. Wang Zhen casually replied. His gaze was fixed on Tang Tian, who was sleeping in the corner of the viewing platform. Kai Shui was like a little bird that escaped from its cage, extremely cheerful. Although she was wearing a veil on her face, her youthfulness and liveliness could not be concealed. Senior sister is too powerful. The principal actually agreed to let us out. This is really unexpected. Wang Zhen recognized the two at a glance, and his face was puzzled. Why are you dressed like this? Seems like this. Wang Zhen casually said. Voila. Kai Shui and He Xiaoqin were confused. Watching the battle? What was there to watch in the preliminary competition? All the bad feelings that Ming Guang had previously had immediately disappeared. He was just about to put on an incomparably handsome pose, when he suddenly caught a glimpse of the viewing platform's entrance. What a coincidence! I never thought that Miss Bingning would also be interested in Tang Tian. Sima Xiangshan laughed, his voice carrying an indescribable creepiness. Kai Shui and He Xiaoqin's eyes flashed with shock. The two of them could not help but look at each other in dismay. If it was said that before, they still did not understand why their senior sister would bring them to watch the preliminary competition, and why the principal would agree to let them go, then now, when they found out that Tianjing Sima Xiangshan had personally come, they understood that there must be some powerful person here. And Han Bingning was an expert that could directly confront Boss Sima. Wang Zhen and Ming Guang were the first to arrive. The viewing platform was empty. Ming Guang looked around the viewing platform. Brother Zhen, did we really come to the right place? Xin Yuan was stunned, but immediately reacted and suddenly turned around. Where did these people come from? The entire audience was dead silent. The surging tide of people made Ming Guang's scalp tingle. Brother Zhen, they really came. A lot of people. Wang Zhen replied, Don't worry, it definitely has nothing to do with us. Senior Wang Zhen. Han Bingning politely greeted, simply taking off her veil and bamboo hat. Kai Shui and He Xiaoqin, seeing this, also took off their veils and bamboo hats. Come, let's go in. Wang Zhen did not even turn his head and walked into the viewing platform. For the first time, she wanted to find a hole to hide in. Then allow me to open the way for Miss Bingning. Sima Xiangshan laughed. He took a step forward and walked towards the viewing platform entrance. Everyone subconsciously opened up a path. Aha, young lady! Are you here to witness the first battle of a godlike young legend? Waha, young lady, your eyes are really on point. Ever since Chie Shangguan left Star Wind City, Sima Xiangshan had always occupied the throne of Star Wind City's #1. But unlike Chie Shangguan, who was loved by many, Sima Xiangshan's notoriety could stop a baby from crying. Han Bingning. Sima Xiangshan softly said to himself. Han Bingning nodded at him to show her gratitude, then walked along the empty path towards the viewing platform. The people along the way subconsciously avoided her. Ming Guang watched and shook his head. The viewing platform was pitifully small. There was not a single person. There were too many preliminaries starting at the same time, and the standard was relatively low, so there was basically no audience. Usually it was the contestant's family or something like that. Sima Xiangshan. Han Bingning's cold voice made Kai Shui and He Shaoqin's faces change. But what they never thought was, the principal actually agreed, and even told them to watch the battle. Let's go. Han Bingning coldly threw down these two words, then took the lead and walked forward. Although there's nothing to see in the preliminaries, but it's good to come out and get some fresh air. He Shaoqin was also quite happy. Over the past few days, the principal had personally supervised their cultivation, and almost everyone had complained incessantly. Sima Xiangshan glanced at them, then with Shun Yuan, they disappeared into the crowd. Han Bingning was about to answer. Suddenly, her heart felt something. She stopped and looked forward. Kai Shui and He Shaoqin, who were beside her, noticed something strange, followed Han Bingning's gaze with a vigilant face. Their gaze was as sharp as a sword, as if it could pierce through the thin veil. "Excuse me, are you Beast Academy's student Ming Guang?" A beautiful girl, squeezed over, looked at Ming Guang with a face of worship. Sima Xiangshan's face was all smiles. His appearance was very ordinary. He even looked a bit gentle and easy to talk to. "Goddess." In the dead silence, Tang Tian's shout spread throughout the audience. The cold and panicky atmosphere was suddenly swept away. Panic spread like a plague, climbing up the faces of these people, all the way to the depths of their eyes. At this time, Northern Yen Academy's Han Bingning and the other two came to their side. Not far away, two guys wearing masks were watching them. Senior Sister. Chapter 32. Han Bingning squinted her eyes, and beside her, Kai Shui and He Shaoqin's faces became much more serious. Chaotic splitting wind rod technique. Wang Zhen was also somewhat surprised. This type of rod technique is rarely practiced by people. "Young man, you don't know what kind of baptism I have experienced." The best time to break the chaotic splitting wind rod technique is his first few strikes. At that time the power of the rod has not been fully displayed. Now that the power of the rod is layered, it is truly powerful and heavy. Wang Zhen said. The sound of the rod was deep and resounding, causing people's hearts to palpitate. The long copper rod had not yet touched the ground, but the energy had already split open the ground, causing countless amounts of dirt to fly. "He is Tang Tian. Didn't they say Tang Tian is a trash student?" "Yes." The judge nodded. From the change in the sound of the rod, Tang Tian knew that the power of the rod had increased again. The barefooted youth's figure was completely enveloped by the rod's shadow. "You actually dare to sneak attack." The smile on Tang Tian's face disappeared. He stared at the opponent with an unfriendly face, coldly snorted, "You are finished." "He is Tang Tian?" Tang Tian lowered his waist, opened his arms, his 10 fingers locked onto the barefooted youth. "Jie Shangguan." Could it be? The barefooted youth's body, like a roly-poly doll, once again fell to the other side, bringing along the rod's power to the side. Although the barefooted youth felt a strong sense of oppression, his eyes did not have a hint of fear. An ominous glint flashed. His figure once again disappeared from Tang Tian's vision. Their senior actually knew this person. Kai Shui and He Shaoqin looked at each other. Their hearts were extremely curious, thinking that the principal had agreed to let them out. Could it be that the principal also knew? Looking at the super luxurious lineup on the viewing platform, 2 of the top 3 experts of Star Wind City had come. Although the Beast Academy's Liang Qiu did not come, but Senior Wang Zhen had personally come, it could be seen how important this was. "I guess it's true, but pain in the balls? You've underestimated the big boss balls. Their entire bodies are made of copper and iron, and even their balls are made of steel." His upper body was naked, and his lower body was only wearing a pair of simple animal skin shorts. His skin was dark and had a hint of metallic luster. His feet were bare, and he held a copper rod in his hand. The two ends of the copper rod were wrapped with a circle of slightly protruding nails. The most impressive thing about him was his eyes. They knew very well what kind of attitude Senior Sister had towards men. Tang Tian stomped hard on the ground with his left foot. His calm face suddenly turned ferocious. He exerted force with his left foot and shot forward like an arrow. The strength of the barefooted youth was not bad. Just as the long copper rod missed, it was as if he had predicted Tang Tian's counterattack. His body fell straight to the side, avoiding Tang Tian's flash fist. At the same time, he shook the tail of his rod, and the body of the rod was like a venomous snake. It pounced towards Tang Tian. Beside him, there was a freakish power maniac like Housefly Cow. Not to mention, there was also Big Brother Stone, that super freakish road roller. Even if one randomly picked out from the quarry, the momentum of casually waving a big iron hammer would be much more terrifying than this. The barefooted youth's gaze turned to the other side of Tang Tian. The opposite barefooted youth also noticed the change in Tang Tian. His eyes flashed a trace of vigilance. The long copper rod in his hand suddenly straightened, and the rod head pointed directly at Tang Tian. As soon as his voice fell, the barefooted youth disappeared into the air, and a rod wind suddenly appeared behind Tang Tian's head. However, he was not affected by the opponent's rod. In an instant, Tang Tian seemed to have changed into a different person. There was no trace of a smile on his face, and his eyes were calm without a trace of ripples. He opened his arms, and every muscle was angular. The hard lines were full of masculinity. The long copper rod swept past his body. The heavy copper rod was swung up, and the sound of high-speed rotation filled the venue. The gravel and soil on the ground were constantly rolled up, and then crushed by the shadow of the rod. What kind of rod technique is this? Ming Guang couldn't help but ask. What a strange way of attacking. Han Bingning's eyes froze. She suddenly remembered the day when Tang Tian faced the ink-black iron rhinoceros. It was the same posture in front of her. The two of them retreated a few steps at the same time, and once again separated. A swift and fierce figure stepped into the venue. His voice revealed a trace of killing intent. "Excuse me, is this venue 3897? I've long been prepared," Tang Tian casually said. Did Tang Tian not want to live anymore? Tang Tian jumped to the side again. The others also noticed the change in Tang Tian. The originally noisy audience immediately quietened down. Flash fist. Could it be that Star Wind City had another extraordinary genius? Senior Sister, who is he? Kai Shui asked with a face of curiosity. The barefooted youth once again fell to the side, and the power of the long copper rod increased again. The rod's body became blurry, and it was hard to see with the naked eye. The judge had seen all kinds of contestants. At first glance, he could tell that the barefooted youth in front of him was definitely not a good person. What kind of rod technique was this? Fortunately, at this time, another contestant entered the venue. Only then did the judge regain his senses. Tang Tian was shocked. He did not think that the opponent would start fighting just like that. But his reaction was extremely fast. Bending his waist, he lifted his left leg backwards. The judge hurriedly asked Tang Tian, "Are you ready?" The chaotic splitting wind rod technique requires innate divine strength. It relies on strength to win. Wang Jin explained, using his body to drive the rod's power. Look at his figure, it looks like he's drunk. But in reality, he's hiding his killing intent. Once the chaotic splitting wind rod technique is used, he'll have the advantage. He's Tang Tian. Han Bingning forced herself to calm down. She tried to calm down the intense feeling of embarrassment from Tang Tian's greeting. Yeah, he's been repeating for 5 years. If he's not a garbage student, then what is he? Tang Tian had already seen some signs. The barefooted youth used his body as the axis to move the rod. Every time he fell, the strength of the copper rod would increase a little. Right now, the barefooted youth was like a high-speed spinning top. The rod's power was heavy and terrifying. As long as it was hit, the opponent would most likely lose their fighting strength. From the looks of it, the barefooted youth's rod was very messy, but it covered a large area. Sima Xiangshan, who was sitting slightly straight, had a flash in his eyes. He sat even straighter. Tang Tian's back leg was blocked by the barefooted youth's rod. Tang Tian had no choice but to jump to the other side. Kai Shui and He Xiao Qin exclaimed at the same time. Their faces were filled with disbelief. The man below was actually Tang Tian? The legendary super retainer who was kicked out of school, the garbage student Tang Tian? The man that Xie Shangguan liked the most, Tang Tian? What a strange martial technique. Mingguang revealed a look of surprise. Looks like this person's strength is not bad. Sima Xiangshan sat up slightly, while Shen Yuan's face was full of surprise. When the referee entered the arena, he was completely shocked by such a hot scene. He almost wondered if he had gone to the wrong place. The familiar faces in the stands caused his heart to palpitate and his scalp to go numb. Any one of these people, any of their matches would become the hottest match of the day. Then, isn't Tang Tian in danger? Mingguang frowned. Wang Zhen replied, his combat experience should be very rich. At this time, many people had already recognized that the person below was Tang Tian. Tang Tian's face was calm. Looking forward, his body slightly leaned forward and his right fist was at the side of his waist. Mingguang heard of this rod technique for the first time and was a little surprised. Why? It feels very powerful. I didn't expect there to be such a strong player in the preliminaries. When the referee saw the player in front of him, his heart trembled. Every step of Tang Tian was extremely heavy, deeply sinking into the soil. Tang Tian also did not expect that his first opponent would be so powerful. Han Bingning's mouth twitched. She resisted the urge to draw her sword and cut the two people beside her. She pretended to be indifferent, turned her face and looked at the two seriously. You guys are thinking too much. Actually, I like women. For a veteran referee who had been a referee for more than 5 years, how could he not know these people? The people in the stands were immediately shocked. Such a heavy rod, to clash head-on, was definitely looking for death. Almost at the same time, Tang Tian's squinted eyes suddenly opened. His upper body was like a pendulum, swaying slightly and his feet stepped backwards. However, the ferocious-looking Tang Tian's eyes were clear and calm. This kind of strength may be suffocating in the eyes of ordinary people, but in his eyes it was not enough. God, this is the preliminaries? Boom. The barefooted youth's body was like a spinning top, straight and straight in the other direction. The heavy copper rod was once again brought up. Tang Tian's eyes lit up, and hurriedly waved his hand. Aha, young man, are you my opponent? Sima Xiangshan, Han Bingning, Wang Zhen, Tang Tian stepped horizontally, as if he was sliding on ice, and brushed past the poisonous snake-like rod. Hoo! That copper rod was at least 60 pounds, and when it danced, it was terrifying. His eyes were focused, and all distracting thoughts were thrown to the back of his mind. His opponent was like a whirlwind. Everywhere he went, sand and stones flew. Under everyone's dumbfounded gazes, Tang Tian was like a mad bison, rumbling as he brought along countless splashes of soil, rushing towards the whirlwind. Without warning, Tang Tian's fist drilled out from the barefooted youth's right rib. The barefooted youth's expression was indifferent, as if he didn't hear Tang Tian's words. Like a raging tornado, rumbling and wreaking havoc in the small venue. Although this group of people had lowered their voices, Sima Xiangshan and the others had terrifying hearing, so they heard everything clearly. But when they heard these words that were full of killing power, this group of powerful big shots subconsciously clamped their legs together. Moreover, He seemed to be very familiar with senior sister. Kai Shui hesitated, but couldn't help but stutter. Senior sister, liking Xie Shangguan is nothing, but liking her man, this seems. But why did so many big shots come here? Are they so bored that their balls hurt? He's Tang Tian? This point could be seen from Tang Tian's constant dodging. Tang Tian stopped moving and faced the other. He Xiao Qin's temper was much more straightforward. She said with a serious face, Senior sister, there are plenty of fish in the sea. Why pick someone's broken shoes? Kai Shui and He Xiao Qin's expressions froze on their faces. They were stunned, so shocked that they couldn't speak. The brass-colored rod changed direction like the whirlwind, rumbling towards Tang Tian. This is Kai Shui and He Xiao Qin looked at each other. They knew very well how much senior sister worshipped Xie Shangguan. The barefooted youth turned to ask the referee, "Can we start?" Han Bingning turned her face away, as if she hadn't said anything. Swift and fierce, full of killing intent. Bang! Chapter 33. Suddenly, Tang Tian's eyebrows twitched. All of a sudden, he jumped out as if his butt was on fire, and waved his right hand with all his might. Wah wah wah! Big brother is the best! Little Nan Nan raised her tender little hands and shouted. Tang Tian's eyes lit up and continued. I've learnt them all, 5 types of martial techniques, wah, so powerful. The surroundings immediately quietened down. Everyone's gaze immediately became strange, and looked at Tang Tian with sympathy. Senior sister, what kind of girl do you like? Kai Shui asked shyly and curiously. As he spoke, Sima Xiangshan's figure unknowingly floated to the exit. He suddenly turned his face and smiled at Tang Tian. I'm really looking forward to it. The contrast was too big. In comparison, the big shots were much calmer. The so-called enemy, isn't it to be defeated? Tang Tian said matter-of-factly. Ah, you know that too? Tang Tian looked as if he had discovered a new continent, and looked at Sima Xiangshan with excitement. Suddenly, Tang Tian saw Shen Yuan on the viewing platform, and immediately became excited. He waved at Shen Yuan, and shouted at the top of his lungs, Brother Yuan Yuan! Brother Yuan Yuan! That damned woman! A Maori's brute force was terrifying, and Ming Guang had personally experienced it. Ming Guang imagined it in his mind. Replacing Tang Tian with a Maori, oh, this was a very normal result. Just that, it was really rough. Really barbaric. With the last step, Tang Tian was like a barbaric rhinoceros, heavily stepping on it. Shen Yuan laughed very reluctantly, and silently said in his heart, Are you being sarcastic? Are you being sarcastic? Are you being sarcastic? Brother Yuan Yuan, your spirit card is really good. It's very useful. Tang Tian said sincerely. Kai Shui stared blankly at Tang Tian in the arena. So powerful. He waved his hand. Godlike young man, we'll meet again. Brother Yuan Yuan is too powerful. Even Brother Shi Tu praised you for matching well. Close combat expert. Wow wow wow. Tang Tian said excitedly. Sima Xiangshan's expression became ferocious. He suddenly turned around, and a piercingly cold, killing intent swept towards Tang Tian. Sima Xiangshan. Han Bingning looked at Tang Tian worriedly. She knew that Sima Xiangshan had a very eccentric personality. It was very likely that he would do what he said. Tang Tian shook his head. I don't know. Han Bingning was stunned, and so was everyone else. A deafening crash resounded as Tang Tian's fist collided with the copper rod. The shadows of the staff that filled the sky disappeared, and so did the heart-palpitating sound of the wind. The barefooted youth's high-speed spinning figure seemed to have been forcibly stopped by a force, and he stopped in place. Sima Xiangshan's tone was gentle, but his words sent chills down everyone's spine. Bastard! Shen Yuan's face flushed red. He finally understood what Han Bingning felt. In that instant, his heart was filled with regret. Why did he not take the opportunity to leave? Who is he? Tang Tian asked Han Bingning curiously. Tang Tian's strength is very strong. He Xiao Qin analyzed seriously. He does not look like the kind of physique that specializes in brute force, but to be able to explode with such a powerful force, it means that his technique is very strong. Up until now, he has only used flash fist technique and aerial wood stake, which are both rank 2 martial technique. To be able to defeat his opponent with just a rank 2 martial technique, he is very powerful. He is a formidable opponent for us. Such a solid foundation, it is rare. Sima Xiangshan turned around and asked Xin Yuan, I heard that he practiced fundamental martial techniques for 5 years. But, to be able to fight to a draw with a Maori. He was a real freak. Han Bingning suddenly said, Do you know who he is? When Nan Nan helped Tang Tian apply the bamboo queen bee glue, Tang Tian's wrinkled face finally relaxed. He ran to the stands and waved his arms at Han Bingning and shouted, Hey, young lady, are you shocked by this godlike young man? So painful, so painful. Wang Zhen nodded his head at Tang Tian and left with a face full of admiration. Borrowing this force, Tang Tian's speed increased and he rushed to the front of the rod. Close quarters combat expert? When Sima Xiangshan heard this term, he interjected with interest. Exhaling, he had long prepared his right fist and punched out. Quang Dang. As the distance between the two got closer, Tang Tian's calm and clear eyes began to change. It was as if a flame had suddenly surged out from the depths of his eyes. Hoo. See. So painful. So painful. Just relying on strength to win against the chaotic splitting wind rod technique? This was too funny. The strong contrast between extreme movement and extreme stillness made the spectators feel uncomfortable. This time, Mingguang calmed down and was on par with a Maori's fist. I will cripple your true power and let you sink in defeat forever. It will definitely be wonderful and interesting. Snow Kai lowered her head as if she was thinking about something. The barefooted young man who was at a loss did not have any reaction at all. The fist landed solidly on his face. The barefooted young man was like a rhinoceros that had collided with him and flew out. Wang Zhen said, His strength is slightly weaker than a Maori's, but his technique is more outstanding. I have seen the two of them fight and it was a draw. Suddenly, another fist drilled out from under his face without any warning. Seems like it was right. It was a perfect technique to release his strength. Just comparing muscle strength, he has almost reached the pinnacle. The flash fist is also beautiful. I guess Wang Zhen came for this. Sima Xiangshan praised. With that, he disappeared. Xin Yuan nodded. Yes, that's what the rumors say. All the strength in his body was concentrated in this fist, and it was as heavy as 1,000 caddies. Han Bingning took half a step forward, his palm on the sword at his waist, his eyes drooping. Just like that, when Shen Yuan realized that Tang Tian had appeared in front of him, he had the heart to bang his head against the wall and die. Why was he still here? The clapping awoke the crowd from their thoughts. The one clapping was Sima Xiangshan. He smiled and said, This is the best sentence I have ever heard. Finished, he turned and left. Flash fist. After a while, the judge reacted and quickly shouted, Tang Tian wins. Tang Tian said, The guy who was beaten up by Chie so many times? For this sentence, even if we meet in the competition, I will not kill you. Bang. Once he displayed his rod techniques, he had never lost. There had never been anyone who could defeat him before he was exhausted. He Xiao Qin noticed Kai Shue's strangeness and asked curiously, Shue, did you discover something new? The things that Tang Tian had displayed were too little, and I could only analyze so much. However, to be able to attract so much attention, this Tang Tian really has some skills. This year's martial meet will be interesting. Han Bingning wanted to say something, but nothing came out. She stared at Tang Tian. Tang Tian's eyes were clear and calm. There was no fear in his eyes. Ming Guang, Shen Yuan and the others, the ridicule on their faces slowly disappeared. They silently chewed on Tang Tian's words. Darling, Bamboo Queen Bee Glue. Han Bingning staggered and almost fell. He Shao Qin also stared. Is he a wild beast? The stands were in an uproar. Jie Shanghai was the eternal pain in Sima Xiangshan's heart. When Jie Shanghai was still in Star Wind City, he had always lived in Jie Shanghai's shadow. He had repeatedly tried to challenge Jie Shanghai, but every time, he would be beaten miserably by Jie Shanghai. Dang! Xin Yuan's smile was even more forced. He silently said in his heart, "Would I believe it? Would I believe it? Smoke bombs are too clumsy." Xin Yuan honestly said, "I'm not sure about that." Han Bingning was about to say something when she heard Tang Tian say, "But as long as they are my enemies, they will be defeated by me." The cold and demonic, killing intent could not advance an inch. Han Bingning's heart relaxed. Thinking of Xin Yuan's embarrassment, she said without hesitation, "Let's go back to school." The change was too fast. Just now, they felt that the barefooted youth's rod technique was vigorous and without any flaws. Who knew that in the blink of an eye, Tang Tian would win? More importantly, Tang Tian did not seem to use any powerful martial technique. He just relied on his strength to settle it. Really makes one look forward to it. Sima Xiangshan smiled. Who knows, we might even exchange blows. Wang Zhen suddenly said, "Sima, if there's anything, let's settle it at the martial meet." Han Bingning also pricked up her ears. She could see that Kai Shui was not right, but she had always been cold and would not take the initiative to speak. "Your expression is so strange. What are you thinking about?" He Shao Qin felt that it was very strange. All the killing intent suddenly disappeared without a trace. Sima Xiangshan laughed out loud. "You really have guts. This year's martial meet finally has something that can pique my interest." The copper rod flew far away. "Can I really say it?" Kai Shui stammered. Sima Xiangshan looked coldly at Tang Tian. Tang Tian maintained his punching posture, his face cold. The entire audience was silent. Kai Shui and He Shao Qin hurriedly followed. "Then you will definitely be defeated by me." Tang Tian's tone was incomparably firm. The barefooted youth's face revealed a blank expression. He did not understand what exactly had happened. "Say it. What can't you say?" He Shao Qin casually said, feeling even more strange. Sima Xiangshan, who was at the exit, staggered. Tang Tian maintained his punching posture and let out a long breath. The flames in his eyes slowly subsided. Han Bingning, Ming Guang's mouth was wide open. He blankly stared at the arena. After a while, he blankly asked, This. Tang Tian carried little Nan Nan on his back and quickly jumped up to the viewing platform. Han Bingning was very calm. She had seen Tang Tian wrestle with the ink-black iron rhinoceros before. This kind of result did not surprise her. She just did not think that Tang Tian would use such a simple method to defeat his opponent. How could it be? How could it be? The viewing platform that had just been shaken into absolute silence. Now everyone looked sluggishly at Tang Tian, who was jumping around in the arena. His face was twisted in pain. The smile on Xin Yuan's face was stiff. In his heart, he silently said, What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Please leave quickly. New discovery? Kai Shui raised her head with a blank face. Chapter 34. He is Star Wind City Academy's #1 expert. Amaury explained. Every student who trained in Flash Fist technique had a face of disbelief when they heard the result. But as the rumors spread, they began to believe that Flash Fist technique could actually break chaotic splitting wind rod technique. All the students who trained in a Flash Fist technique were excited. They gathered together and tried to recreate Tang Tian's technique. Tang Tian was able to use the Rank 2 Flash Fist technique to break the Rank 3 chaotic splitting wind rod technique. Was all because of his perfect fundamental martial technique. And Sima Xiangshan had publicly announced in Crystal Sky Academy that Tang Tian's fundamental martial techniques had already reached a perfect state. No one in Star Wind City could compete with him in terms of muscle strength. Tang Tian continued to immerse himself in training. He was sweating profusely. He was not the least bit affected by the preliminary round, nor was he affected by the upcoming second round. His training was not affected at all. The Zhou family patriarch's eyes were filled with joy. He looked at Zhou Peng with a gratified expression. I want you to die fair and square in front of everyone. But no matter what the reason was, everyone's attention towards Tang Tian immediately soared. The preliminary round, that was originally thought to be boring, suddenly had a black horse appear, and immediately ignited everyone's passion. Tang Tian's following matches were all dug out by people. Not far away, old Fart Wei, who had a leisurely face, suddenly froze. His muddy gaze suddenly became deep, and countless scenes flashed past his eyes. His mind was suddenly in a trance. Countless killing and shouts seemed to ring in his ears. Even if I die, I must win. Everyone shook their heads. This type of training was not desirable. Everyone thought that there was some secret hidden within, but they realized there was no secret at all. This was what the teacher had told them on the first day of school. Tang Tian was also panting, his face was puzzled. Why not? Compared to the previous year's preliminary round, no one paid attention to it. This year, on the first day of the preliminary round, there was a sensational match. All the higher-ups of the Zhou family gathered together. Everyone's gaze landed on Zhou Peng, who was slowly walking in. Zhou Peng's steps were calm, and his expression was calm. He enjoyed the gazes. Housefly cow, you will definitely win. Tang Tian shouted with a serious expression. Clenching his fists tightly, Tang Tian stared at Amaury's flushed face and squeezed out one sentence after another. Even if we die, we must win. This was a big secret. Amaury's face turned red from Tang Tian's words. 5 years of basic martial technique training, to be able to reach this stage, people suddenly realized they did not know how to weigh whether this was worth it or not. Using 5 years of time to exchange for the rank 2 flash fist, to counter the rank 3 chaotic splitting wind technique, what was the point? In 5 years' time, as long as one's talent was not too bad, they would be able to cultivate rank 3 martial technique. Amaury's head buzzed. His eyes stared blankly as he murmured. Old Fart Wei suddenly laughed silently, his eyes filled with anticipation. Tang Tian once again entered everyone's line of sight. This was the first time Tang Tian was not the target of ridicule. The attention of many big shots was enough to explain everything. There were so many preliminary rounds, but only 2 of them attracted attention. One was Tang Tian and the other was Amaury. Liang Qiu's appearance on the stage for Amaury's match was seen as a senior's concern for his junior. As for Amaury, as the former 7th-ranked expert of Beast Academy, no one doubted his strength. In everyone's eyes, he was no different from a seeded player. The main character of this match was Star Wind City's famous super retainer, Tang Tian. What do you mean you don't know? Tang Tian widened his eyes and shouted. You will definitely win. You must win. There is nothing to be afraid of. Don't tell yourself that losing is nothing. Victory. As long as you win, the hardships you put in are never less than anyone else. There is no such thing as a matter-of-course victory. Saying that as long as you try your best, you will not regret it is all a lie. Those who say this, they did not even use all their strength. So much sweat, so much hard work, for what? Is it to retreat when fighting? To tell yourself that you have already tried your best, and then accept defeat? Those are all excuses. Those are all bullshit. Only by winning can you tell the world that you have been here before. Amaury was silent for a moment and suddenly raised his head. My goal is to be able to meet Big Brother Liang Qiu and then defeat him. Your tone is really big, to actually dare to speak like that to Sima Xiangshan. Amaury panted. Housefly cow. Tang Tian looked at Amaury seriously. This martial meet is a very good opportunity. Let it be the start of our Zhou family's rise again. The great clan elder was equally proud. Let whatever Sima Xiangshan become our Zhou family's stepping stone. That's right. A Maori nodded his head. Everyone once again suspected that Tang Tian did not use a flash fist, but some other rank 3 martial technique similar to a flash fist. But this deduction made the new students excited. They all raised their spirits, and seriously trained in the fundamental martial techniques that they originally thought were useless. He could feel the envy, jealousy, shock and disbelief in everyone's eyes, and a smile quietly appeared on his face. Bang! Once this decision was announced, it was immediately welcomed by everyone. Tang Tian asked curiously, "Housefly Cow, what is your goal this time?" The great clan elder coughed lightly, breaking the silence. His turbid gaze landed on Zhou Peng, and he said in a deep voice, "Very good. This is how our Zhou family's young master should be. No matter what prejudice I had against you in the past, but now I acknowledge your identity as the successor of the Zhou family." A Maori. Everyone suddenly remembered that Tang Tian had trained in fundamental martial techniques for 5 years. Everyone could not help but be silent. When many people heard this news, they thought they had heard wrongly. But everyone who had personally witnessed the match would enthusiastically introduce the match to their friends around them. In the extremely luxurious viewing platform, every name would cause a wave of exclamations. He lowered his head to look at his palms. The palms that used to be white were now covered with calluses. He muttered to himself, as though he was deeply moved and praised, "Truly a perfect work of art." 3 famous schools, not one was left out. There was one more person, Tang Tian. "Young master, the great clan elder invites you in," the servant respectfully said. The teacup smashed heavily on the floor, smashing into pieces, and the shards flew everywhere. "It's all because of that bastard Zhou Peng, and Tang Tian's use of a flash fist to break the opponent's chaotic splitting wind rod technique," set off a wave of discussion. There were not many people who trained in chaotic splitting wind rod technique, but the difficulty of this rod technique was well known. In comparison, the number of students who trained in a flash fist was as many as the hairs on a cow. You have the talent that makes people envious. You have already been reborn. Although I know I will not be able to see that day, but I still hope that the Zhou family will flourish in your hand. What a wonderful feeling! It was only until the whispers of a few elders on the viewing platform gradually spread that everyone came to a realization. Zhou Peng was expressionless. The current him was a completely different person from before. His fair skin was tanned, and his puffy eyes were now like a poisonous snake's triangular eyes, radiating light, cold, and sharp. "Even if I die, I must win. I don't know." A Maori was a little hesitant. Andrew Academy's principal's office. The principal's roar caused the students who passed by to be alarmed. Flash fist was only a rank 2 martial technique, while chaotic splitting wind rod technique was a rank 3 rod technique. The difference in levels was like a huge chasm that could not be crossed. Only old Fart Wei's face was carefree, as though the matter did not concern him. The students of the sword arts class collectively missed Tang Tian. Zhou Peng retracted his gaze, and his lips curled into a playful smile. It was as though he was mocking and looking down on Zhou Peng. The smile disappeared in a flash. He gently adjusted his collar, took a step forward, and walked to the competition grounds. "I finally know the wonderful feeling of having power. It is more intoxicating than living a life of luxury." Fundamental martial techniques. The hall was silent, only the great clan elder's voice resounded. Maybe this guy would really become an amazing person in the future. After a short break, the two of them sat paralyzed on the floor, letting their sweat drip freely. "Even if I die, I must win. Tang Tian. This asshole." Tang Tian suddenly tilted his head. "That means if I defeat him, I will be the strongest person in Star Wind City Academy?" Tang Tian suddenly understood. No wonder Chie always beat him up, so beating him up can get first place. Only Tang Tian, like a dark horse, suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Until now, people still did not understand, why did he enter the sights of the elders. If only Senior Tang Tian was still here. But no matter how much they racked their brains, they could not do it. Just the people on the viewing platform could already organize an extremely entertaining and high-level competition. Tang Tian's second match would be held 2 days later. And regarding Tang Tian's bet, all the various banks had already opened, accepting bets. Seeing this, the Martial Meets organizers immediately changed Tang Tian's competition venue to a large one, to prevent a repeat of the previous time, where the viewing platform was filled, and the entrance was blocked so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Such treatment could only be seen in the main competition's popular matches. I want him to die without a burial ground. Zhou Pring smiled confidently, but the fists in his sleeves were quietly clenched. Amauri was also training with all his might. He did not expect that Big Brother Liang Qiu would actually personally watch his match. Big Brother Liang Qiu was his idol, and was also the person he was determined to defeat. Thinking of the familiar figure on the viewing platform, Amauri's entire body seemed to be filled with endless energy. Zhou Pring bowed slightly, and said with a trace of arrogance, "That's right, the Zhou family will definitely flourish." Amauri raised his head in shame. Chapter 35. The spectators were in an uproar. They had never seen such a peculiar martial technique before. This was an opponent that no one dared to look down on. It was a blade that was as thin as a cicada's wing. Di Han squinted his eyes, looking awe-inspiring. Many of the spectators' faces congealed. Upon announcing the start of the battle, he quickly retreated. The formless true power trembled slightly, and the thin blade disappeared in the air. An undetectable cold light brushed past his nose. The ice-cold intent caused all the hairs on Tang Tian's body to stand. Di Han walked into the arena expressionlessly. His gaze lingered on Tang Tian for a moment, then he retracted it. He did not care who his opponent was. He did not care about the voices outside. The densely packed spectators in the stands had no effect on him. Rank 2 martial technique? A cold aura flashed past Di Han's eyes. The martial technique that he trained in was called drizzle. It was a rank 3 martial technique that was rarely known. It was this martial technique that was passed down from ancient times that made Di Han a fearsome ambusher. The true power in Di Han's body could transform into formless true power threads, so he could control the thin blade from any angle. In the corner of the spectator stand, Father Han and Mother Han were wearing wide-brimmed hats. Their faces were almost completely covered. Although it was surprising that a flash fist technique could be trained to such a level, but a rank 2 martial technique was still a rank 2 martial technique. Just relying on a rank 2 martial technique to fight against him, that was courting death. Tang Tian's sudden appearance immediately caused a sensation in Andrew Academy. Meng Yu and Luan looked around. Tang Tian looked at the thin blade floating in the air, and could not help but be taken aback. Andrew Academy's #1 expert in the entire Star Wind City's academy, he could only touch the tail of the top 10, no wonder Meng Yu was so bitter. The true power threads suddenly trembled. Di Han's battle experience was plentiful, and definitely far exceeded them. That's good, that's good. Mother Han heaved a sigh of relief, but she quickly became anxious. Old man, you're right, no matter what, we have to help Bing Ning. Bing Ning even said that she likes women. My heart was beating so fast. I've thought about it seriously. No matter how bad Tang Tian is, he's still a man. He's still better than a woman. Meng Yu did not find it strange. About half of Andrel's people will come. Just looking at these experts today made today's trip worth it. He is Tang Tian. Tang Tian probably didn't expect that his opponent wasn't a nobody. Many people had heard of Tang Tian, but this was the first time they had seen Tang Tian in person. Almost all of the top experts from the top 10 academies appeared on the grandstand. With such a lineup, people didn't know what to say. Meng Yu and Luan suddenly had the illusion that this was the finals. The crowd was surging. Everything was coming to an end. Flash fist. After a short period of silence, all kinds of discussions broke out. In many professional predictions, De Haan's chances of winning were very shocking. Meng Yu and Luan were squeezed by the crowd to the point that they couldn't move. Without saying a word, Tang Tian opened the Aquarius Martial cabinet, and the Fornax black metal gloves appeared in his hands. The cold metal feeling made Tang Tian's mind clear up. There are so many people. This level of popularity, compared to the main competition, it's much stronger. Meng Yu could not help but sigh. The referee's palms were all sweaty. It was his first time acting as a referee in front of so many people. But the rules of the martial meet were very simple. Seeing that the two of them were ready, he did not say a word and quickly said, "Begin." He was once the target of ridicule by everyone. He had trained in fundamental martial techniques for 5 years and was regarded as a student with poor talent. He was the first to repeat a year for 5 years. He was once the target of envy and jealousy. Only he could make Jie Shangguan smile. The most beautiful smile in the entire Star Wind City only belonged to him. Luan patted Meng Yu's shoulder to comfort him. As his best friend, he knew the pain in Meng Yu's heart. During Jie Shangguan's era, Andrew Guild's #1 expert was dazzling and glorious. Because Andrew Guild's #1 expert was Star Wind City's #1 expert. In comparison, Andrew Guild's #1 expert was like a joke. Suddenly, with a loud shout, Tang Tian's fist disappeared in the air. When the fist suddenly appeared in the air, it was as though it had hit the air. The reason why this competition attracted so many experts, other than Tang Tian, was because of De Haan. Ordinary people might not know of Rain Man De Haan, but in the circle of experts De Haan was famous. All the experts on the viewing platform had solemn expressions as they stared at De Haan, who was in the arena. De Haan had never participated in the martial meet before. If not for Tang Tian attracting attention, no one would have noticed that De Haan had quietly signed up to participate in the preliminary competition. De Haan suddenly raised his head. His eyes flashed with a bright light, like the flash of a blade in the darkness. Tang Tian's heart suddenly raised a trace of danger. Without thinking, Tang Tian stepped out horizontally. The thin blade floating in the air was like a block of ice. It suddenly melted at a speed visible to the naked eye, turning into a pool of water. The pool of water quickly divided into 5 parts, and once again condensed into 5 translucent water droplets. The water droplets continued to stretch, forming 5 translucent water needles, floating in front of De Haan. Courting death. Dangerous person? Probably not. Father Han remained calm. Bing Ning is very far away from us. She is on the viewing platform over there. Old man, if we do this, Bing Ning won't find out, right? Mother Han whispered. Meng Yu laughed bitterly. What, Andrew Guild's #1 expert? I don't see anything different. Why would Miss Jie like him? The blade was only 3 inches long. Its shape was similar to a lancet, but it was extremely thin and looked translucent. Could it be that my opponent today is someone extraordinary? Tang Tian scratched his head. That's true. Luan nodded his head and laughed. Even you, Andrew Guild's #1 expert, is here. How can the others not be here? The 5 water needles floating in front of him disappeared at the same time. The sharp whistling sound pierced the eardrums. Just 2 dodges made Tang Tian realize the danger of the opponent. Every name made Meng Yu's heart jump. Contrary to his bad character, his talent was outstanding, especially in the water element martial technique. He was once seen as a water element genius that was not inferior to Han Bingning. It can't be. Tang Tian can only be considered a dark horse. Why are there so many people? Luan could not help but complain. His clean white shoes were filled with footprints. Ding! The invisible true power thread trembled lightly in the air. A spark blossomed from Tang Tian's gloves. The clear and crisp sound of the collision resonated throughout the entire arena. Di-Han's battle experience was plentiful. Although he was not proficient in fighting openly, he was still filled with confidence. Out of all the experts, some had cold expressions, some had arrogant expressions, some had calm expressions, some were curious, some looked around, but without exception, they were the focus of the entire arena. The spectators who were there to watch the show were all extremely excited. Such a grand occasion, when had it ever appeared before? Tang Tian stared at Di-Han. Tang Tian was dumbstruck. Di-Han's martial techniques were truly unfathomable. When Tang Tian stepped into the arena, the originally bustling spectator stands became quiet for a short period of time. Everyone looked curiously at Tang Tian, who was entering the arena. Tang Tian, who had just entered the arena, jumped in shock from the sudden commotion. He raised his head to look and immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. The spectator stands were densely packed with people. And Tang Tian's opponent. Calm down. Father Han immediately signaled his wife to relax. Look, Bing Ning is also here, that means she cares about Tang Tian a lot. Don't worry, no matter what, we will not let her take the wrong path. Ever since Chie Shanghai graduated, Andrew Academy had plummeted. It had been declining for the past few years, and was about to drop out of the top 10. Everyone in Andrew Academy, faced with this roller coaster of changes, were at a loss. It was as though they had lost their spiritual pillar, and their hearts were empty. Di-Han's eyes seemed to have a flash of light. Tang Tian's eyes constricted. He suddenly stomped on the ground and flew backwards. In this world, there would always be extraordinary geniuses. Even in Star Wind City, where there were many famous schools, there would always be geniuses who had never gone to school before. Di-Han was one of the most outstanding geniuses. Di-Han was born in poverty, and his temperament was eccentric and ruthless. He hated the life in the academy, and his martial techniques were all self-taught. The competition began. He had always been alone, and usually hunted monsters for a living. What made him even more fearful was that he was once an assassin. What he was most proficient in was ambushing in the rain. Until now, he had never failed. Di-Han in the rain was like an unstoppable killing god. His nickname, Rain Man, came from this. He felt that the opponent was shrouded in darkness, and he could not see him clearly. Don't worry. Our family's Bing Ning is not that kind of snobbish person. Even if Tang Tian does not get a good ranking, Bing Ning will not despise him. Father Han quickly comforted. He did not say a word. Like a wooden man, he stood in front of Tang Tian, waiting for the referee to enter the arena. Lu An's eyes flashed a trace of reverence. Rain Man Di-Han, Mengyu said in a deep voice. It really is him. I never thought that he would really come to participate in the martial meet, and not just someone with the same name. Tang Tian, don't drop the ball. Mother Han clenched her fist. She was a little nervous. I heard that Tang Tian's opponent is very powerful. A ray of cold aura brushed past Tang Tian and swept past. Look at that. Luan looked as if he had discovered a new continent. He counted with his fingers. Night Forest Academy's #1 expert, Star Wind Academy's #4 Zhao Wei. Great Light Academy's boss, Star Wind Academy's #9 Shui Yong. God Might Academy's boss, Star Wind Academy's #7 Zhou Kai. What martial technique was that? He is not an ordinary person. He trained in fundamental martial techniques for 5 years. How can he be an ordinary person? Chapter 36. Who would have thought that Tang Tian had actually trained a flash fist technique to a 100% perfect state? These water threads were as thin as hair, but they were as sharp and tough as the strings of a zither. If an enemy were to bump into them, they would be instantly dismembered. Di-Han had used it before, to ambush and kill many experts who were of a higher level than him. It was a pity that it was not a rainy day. Tang Tian's reaction was not slow either. The 12 fists formed a wall of fists like an iron wall, the water needles could not move it at all. The area covered by the wall of fists was huge, and Tang Tian seemed to never know fatigue. After 10 rounds, he did not show any signs of fatigue. Di Han was a tough nut to crack. It was still the flash fist technique. In the arena, Di Han looked at Tang Tian, who was at a loss, and sighed in his heart. He did not expect to meet such a strong opponent right from the start. It seemed like he had to think of another way. Tang Tian was a little fearful. The opponent's methods were endless and varied. It was unimaginable. It was the first time Tang Tian had met such an opponent. If it was a real ambush, Di Han could make use of the terrain, the environment, etc., to think of all sorts of methods. But to fight openly, to meet such a beast-level opponent, his luck was really bad. The spectators were surprised, but after thinking about it, Tang Tian's response was not considered clever, but it was rather practical. Many people would make such a choice. The higher the rank of a martial technique, there would be a qualitative difference in power. This point would be even more obvious as the rank of the martial technique increased. Tang Tian's initial reaction was not different from what Di Han had predicted. Shady. There must be shady. Wang Zhen's expression congealed. In the future, you must not be enemies with Di Han. This person is dangerous. But Tang Tian did not hesitate to stop, and gave up the opportunity to counterattack, which made Di Han surprised. In the blink of an eye, 5 water threads, as thin as hair, crisscrossed, forming a perfect killing net. Tang Tian was stunned. Up until now, the opponent obviously had the upper hand. He was in such a difficult situation, why did he admit defeat? The quality of one's body would affect one's true power and martial technique. That's right, I feel that Di Han is much stronger than Tang Tian. Why would he admit defeat? However, it was the word fast that made Di Han feel a strong pressure. 12 punches in 1 second. There was actually such a person in this world. His contraction just now was intentional. From this, it could be seen that his understanding of qi was superior. He purposely pulled back to give Tang Tian a chance to attack. Di Han was well versed in the psychology of battle. Logically speaking, an average person who had been suppressed for so long would definitely not hesitate to pounce out once they had the chance to counterattack. Suppressed anger would often cause people to lower their vigilance towards danger. What the hell? Why did you admit defeat? This kind of influence was everywhere, but it wasn't that obvious. It wasn't that people didn't know about it, but compared to investing more time, most people would choose a more cost-effective and effective method. What a troublesome opponent! Tang Tian's expression changed. If he bumped into it, he would be finished. I don't understand. Is Tang Tian that powerful? Mingguang muttered. When Tang Tian used his flash fist to create a wall of fist shadows, Wang Zhen was not the only one who had a solemn expression. Famous experts, which one of them did not have sharp eyes? Although only fundamental martial techniques and rank 2 martial techniques emphasized on the technique of using the muscles, and although the higher the rank of martial techniques, the more emphasis was placed on the technique of using true power, but the body would always be the foundation of all martial techniques, and was the source of true power. Di Han controlled the 5 water needles, continuously flying and circling, like a group of eagles circling in the sky. As long as Tang Tian revealed a slight flaw, they would suddenly disappear in the sky. Even Meng Yu and the rest who witnessed this scene had a slight change in their expressions. Such a strange martial technique was simply impossible to defend against. Such a strong explosive force. Tang Tian, who had just leapt out, suddenly felt a strong sense of danger, and his legs suddenly stopped. Di Han's heart jumped. How did he find out? Everyone was curious. Tang Tian's legs were strong and powerful, his close to perfect physique. At this moment, the strong explosive force made Tang Tian look like an alert cheetah, his speed astonishing. Di Han wants to win, but it is already impossible? Mingguang was stunned. Why didn't I see that? Di Han's methods are definitely not limited to this. But such a solid foundation. No, it was a perfect foundation. How would Tang Tian deal with it? Wang Zhen trained his flash fist to 87% and then stopped training. It was not that he could not improve, but every bit of improvement required too much time. Rather than using this time to train in the flash fist, the actual effect was far better to train in rank 3 martial techniques, and his strength would improve much faster. Dang 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 dang. Di Han squinted his eyes, his fingers lightly trembled, and the 5 water needles quietly returned to his side. No matter if it was Di Han or Tang Tian, they were both like mysteries. When these two enigmatic characters met, naturally it would attract people's attention. A perfect flash fist. What would it be like? After a moment of silence, suddenly a wave of noise exploded. Such a strange martial technique. He started to be cautious. It was their first time seeing it. Tang Tian squinted his eyes and looked around. It brought them a huge shock. It turned out that a person with a solid foundation, just with the strength of his arms and muscles, could reach a terrifying frequency of 12 punches per second. If on top of this foundation, adding true power, then how many punches could Tang Tian's fists release? Di Han had a headache. It was his first time meeting such a person. His strength was valiant, all aspects were balanced, there was no obvious weakness. His foundation was a complete mess. Forget about that, he actually had the intuition of a wild beast. It was too scary. Tang Tian retreated like lightning, both fists were released at an astonishing frequency, continuously alternating. The air in front of him was filled with dense fist shadows, like a wall. Dangerous. Mingguang disagreed. What danger? He doesn't even have the desire to win, such a person, what's the use? Damn it. Without any hesitation, his right leg fiercely stomped on the ground, his body crouching low as he leapt out. Although the water lines were thin and transparent, it was hard to find them in the air, but when Tang Tian stopped and searched carefully, he quickly discovered their existence. He is an assassin, Wang Zhen said indifferently. For an assassin to fight based on personal feelings, that is the most stupid thing to do. For Di Han to want to win, it is already impossible. Di Han also saw this point. I guess he did not want to expose all his method. When things are not going well, he did not hesitate to retreat, without any reluctance. This kind of assassin is extremely dangerous. But this time, Tang Tian did not go berserk. It meant that Tang Tian had already trained the flash fist technique to the perfect realm. Wang Zhen knew how difficult it was. When the flash fist technique was trained to 85% and above, every little bit of improvement, the amount of sweat and time needed, would multiply. Only Wang Zhen was excited, his eyes shining brightly. 100% perfect flash fist technique. 100%. Mingguang was dumbstruck by the unforeseen event. He could not help but ask, is Di Han's brain fried? Why would he surrender? Once this thought came out, it was like a poisonous thorn that took root in their hearts, unable to be removed. The spectators were also stunned by the sudden change of event. Suddenly, Di Han raised his hand. I admit defeat. Fist shadow wall. Tang Tian's face was cautious. He slowly approached. He stared at his opponent. As long as he got closer, he would give his opponent a ruthless blow. Too scary. Di Han's battle experience was very rich. He had fought and killed many enemies, but he hated this kind of enemy the most. 5 sparks flew, the water needles hit the fist wall, and were immediately repelled. The black metal gloves on Tang Tian's hands had an outstanding defense. The water needles hit the gloves, they did not even leave a mark. Tang Tian's fist, when it disappeared, there was no sound, when it drilled out, there was no sign, but once the fist drilled out, there was a low sound, as if it would suddenly explode. Rain string. Such a treacherous fellow. Di Han's moves were not ordinary. Many people put themselves in Di Han's shoes, and very quickly came to a conclusion. If they were to encounter such a strange martial technique, it would be quite troublesome. No tricks, it meant absolute strength, it meant upright strength. This kind of strength may not be flexible, but it was obviously more frightening and difficult to deal with. Wang Zhen, in a split second, calculated the data of Tang Tian's punches. His face became serious. Such a shocking frequency. He could not do it. This was also why this match would attract so many experts. Di Han had been famous for a long time, but he had always been alone. No one knew how strong he was. Sima Xiangshan, Han Bingning and Wang Zhen, these three big shots, thought highly of Tang Tian. How strong he was, this battle was no doubt the best test. Wang Zhen's eyes widened. He could not take his eyes off. He was famous for his flash fist. He had a special feeling for flash fist. When he first saw Tang Tian's flash fist, although Tang Tian was in a berserk state, Wang Zhen was still very surprised. The opponent used a rank 2 flash fist to break his rain string. There was nothing ingenious about the technique, there was only one word, fast. Rain string's own power was negligible. Once the opponent's speed decreased, its power would be close to zero. The aura of a battle would always increase and decrease. Di Han's contraction almost immediately made Tang Tian feel an opportunity to attack. Di Han's expression, for the first time, changed. Without using true power, just relying on the muscles of his arms, to be able to reach such a shocking frequency, his foundation was too solid. Admit defeat. Di Han's eyes lit up, his 5 fingers trembled, the shapeless true power threads quietly glided in the air. When the 5 water needles disappeared in the air, the spectators cried out in surprise. The 5 water needles quietly melted, they followed the true power threads, quietly spreading. This is where Di Han is powerful. You did not see it, Tang Tian did not see it, but he was able to accurately predict his own situation. His decision was decisive, without a trace of sloppiness. Be it at the start or admit defeat now, he still holds the initiative. Wang Zhen's words were filled with admiration. If it was not a competition but a life-and-death battle, the result would be hard to say. Chapter 37. After 2 rounds of competition, the main competition would be held a week later. The two of them had a week of rest. What a distant and exciting name! The second-level meridian that had been completely connected impressively appeared in the shape of another crane. Boom, boom, boom. With every explosion, Tang Tian's body trembled. The old man walked down the stairs, his expression firm and calm. When it was over, the second-tier Dantian pool's capacity had increased by more than 5 times. Ka. The crystallization did not stop there. It continued to overflow and grow. But at this time, no matter how Tang Tian urged, more and more true power was flowing downwards. He muttered to himself, "The second crane body, the second stage of the crane body energy. Someone actually managed to cultivate the second stage of the crane body energy." The wooden door opened by itself. Even Big Boss Wang Zhen could not stop praising the flash fist, but Tang Tian had suddenly become the #1 flash fist practitioner in Star Wind City. It looked like the crane that was drawn out by the true power was rather young, like a small crane, its wings not fully developed yet. Compared to the third-tier Dantian pool, the second-tier Dantian pool was much smaller. True inheritance. My crane sex true disciple. The crane's body strength transformation was invincible. Elder, he raised his palm, and all the voices immediately disappeared. However, everyone's faces were flushed with excitement. Tang Tian had spent the most time on minute collapsing fist. He was already extremely close to successfully cultivating Great Avalanche. If the third-level true power flowed into the second-level Dantian pool, what would happen? The 2 white-robed disciples guarding the entrance of the valley were both stunned when they saw the old man. Could it be that some powerhouse wanted to invade Heavenly Crane Constellation? Tang Tian came back to his senses in a daze. When his mind returned to his meridians, he was immediately dumbfounded. Second stage crane body energy. Tang Tian suddenly reacted. Didn't this mean that his true power was much bigger than before? Was this also the crane body? 3 days ago, I suddenly sensed that someone had mastered the second stage of the crane body energy. This was a match that most people were baffled by. Impossible! After a while, the 2 disciples regained their senses and bowed in excitement. Elder He, why you're out of seclusion! The energy continued to flow into his body, and through the meridians, it was refined into true power. Threads of true power continued to flow into the newly expanded second-tier Dantian pool. Very quickly, the second-tier Dantian pool was filled with true power, and the following scene made Tang Tian dumbstruck. The energy behind the cross door was extremely dense. The crane-style Qi manual was an authentic ancient mental cultivation method. Its efficiency was much higher than the mental cultivation methods that were circulating in the market. Especially after Tang Tian cultivated the crane body, the efficiency of the crane-style Qi manual refining true power suddenly increased by multiple fold. After a while, the calm sea of clouds seemed to suddenly boil. White cranes soared into the sky, breaking through the clouds and flying in all directions. On the back of every white crane sat an anxious-looking white-robed crane sect disciple. But there was no doubt about this, but the problem now was that no one could fully understand the extent of Tang Tian's strength. But it was only limited to that. In just a quarter of an hour, the second-tier meridians were all connected. Even the most remote corners of the meridians were all activated by true power. The 2 of them did not dare to ask any more questions and immediately responded, "Yes." The sun shone on his body, and it was warm. The smell of the grass in the valley made him slightly dazed. His eyes became calm again. He took a step and followed the small path in the valley and walked towards the entrance of the valley. The crane elder who had been in closed-door cultivation for 10 years suddenly came out. The entire crane sect seemed to have found their backbone. But the moment the crane elder came out, he used the white crane token to gather them for a discussion. Something big must have happened. But now, there was someone who had mastered the second stage of the crane body energy. The second stage of the crane body energy was a higher level of the crane body energy, and required 2 crane bodies. But the legendary crane body was something they had not seen for a whole 900 years. At the top of the crane hall, the crane elder sat cross-legged. Below him, the elders were all nervous and excited. 8 steps overtaking cicada, broken shadow palm, consecutive joint technique, minute collapsing fist and eagle claw technique, were all trained to a certain level. All the elders' expressions froze on their faces in an instant. Up till now, Tang Tian had only used the 2 rank 2 martial techniques, the flash fist and the aerial stake step. The things that he had displayed were rather limited. Everyone's understanding of him consisted of 2 aspects. One was that his foundation was very solid to the point of being abnormal. The other was his flash fist, the perfect flash fist. Tang Tian sat cross-legged, and the surrounding energy continuously flowed into his body and transformed into true power. The current capacity of the 3rd-level Dantian pool in his body was double of what it was when he first stepped into the 3rd level. Old Fart Wei's face was full of joy, and was laughed at by the other 2. The 3rd-level true power in these lower-level meridians was invincible, and did not meet with any obstacles. He took a step forward and slowly walked out of the wooden house. The 2 disciples were shocked. The white crane token was the most urgent order of the crane sect. Unless it was a matter of life and death, it could not be used. Until the judge announced his victory, he was still in a daze. When he regained his senses and wanted to ask Di Han why he admitted defeat, Di Han had already walked far away, and only his back could be seen. Not knowing why, Tang Tian felt that there was something wrong with Di Han, and that something was not right. In the depths of the crane peak, in a simple and unadorned wooden house, an old man with white hair and beard sat cross-legged. He suddenly opened his eyes, and in his muddy eyes, a dazzling light aura suddenly burst out. Heavenly Crane Constellation. In the meridians, the crane was vivid and lifelike. The entire process lasted for an entire hour. In the past, the second-level Dantian pool was only 1/10 of the third-level Dantian pool, but now it was half the size of the third-level Dantian pool. Tang Tian's mind was blank. The third-level Dantian pool could hold the third-level true power, and the second-level Dantian pool could hold the second-level true power. This was common knowledge. All the elders were excited, and the crowd below exploded. This news was too shocking to them, and it was beyond their imagination. Second stage of the crane body energy. Tang Tian felt that this victory came in a blur. But today, he did not continue to train the great avalanche behind the cross-light door, but sat cross-legged, and continuously activated the crane-style Qi manual. Today, he suddenly felt that the true power in his body was not right. Every generation of crane sect disciples would try to restore the crane body energy, but none succeeded. Finishing, they flew to the rooftop. On the rooftop, there were a few exceptionally handsome white cranes. The two of them flipped onto the cranes, and the clear cry of the cranes reverberated throughout the valley. The two cranes spread their wings and disappeared into the vast sea of clouds. Tang Tian was shocked. The circulation of true power had always been from the bottom to the top, commonly known as the stairway to heaven. Tang Tian had never heard of it before. True power could flow backwards from the top to the bottom? And Di Han's display of strength made everyone who did not understand him shocked. Correspondingly, Tang Tian's strength was quickly recognized by everyone, especially after the competition, the evaluation of the elders, which spread from various channels. Gradually, the second-tier Dantian pool became full again. Tang Tian was about to end this strange training, when the true power in the second-tier Dantian pool began to flow recklessly along the meridians. Not good. The true power finally calmed down. The increase of true power depended on grinding, and it grew bit by bit. Tang Tian had never seen such a sudden increase before. He began to actively activate the crane-style Qi manual, and a faint and clear cry of a crane sounded in his ears, and the true power started to move according to his will. The peaceful heavenly crane constellation was immediately filled with a tense atmosphere. In comparison, Di Han's strength, calmness, decisiveness made many people start to re-evaluate this eccentric genius. The strange silence lasted for about 10 seconds, before the crowd exploded. Tang Tian was very strong. 3 days later, after 2 rounds of preliminaries, the two of them entered the main competition. Looking at the excitement of the younger generation, Elder Crane sighed in his heart. The Crane sect had been passed down for so long, but they had lost their true inheritance, and the Crane sect had been declining because of this. And the most crucial Crane body energy was the core of the Crane sect, and it had been missing for a whole 900 years. The third level of true power started to freeze, and along the walls of the pool, it quickly crystallized and grew. In the blink of an eye, the second-tier Dantian pool's walls had doubled. Compared to Tang Tian's inexplicable victory, Amauri's victory was indisputable. His strength surpassed his opponent by too much, and he only used 3 blades to defeat his opponent. In the previous round, the opponent was too weak, and Tang Tian easily won. In this round, Di Han had the strength to force Tang Tian to display more of his strength, but for some reason, Di Han suddenly admitted defeat. Tang Tian looked like he was convulsing, and his body was shaking like a sieve. In the Grand Crane Palace, disciples and elders were gathered, and everyone had a solemn expression. The huge Crane Palace was silent, and the atmosphere was tense. But the most important thing was Tang Tian won. Elder Crane opened his eyes, and his gaze swept across the elders of the Crane sect, and said slowly. The true power flowed along the crane-shaped meridians, and continuously seeped into the remote meridians. Tang Tian had trained in the crane-style Qi manual for a period of time, and with his relentless training, and the dense energy behind the cross door, The third-tier Dantian Pool's meridians were connected to almost every corner with true power. Tang Tian's brain was exploding, and he was unable to respond. The third-level true power entered the second-tier meridians, like a drop of water falling into boiling oil, and suddenly a series of explosions, like a hot knife cutting through butter. But all of this came from his intuition, and with his brain, it was impossible to understand such a complicated matter. Following the continuous strengthening of Tang Tian's crane body, the crane-style Qi manual became stronger, and his meditation time was shortened to half an hour, and he could recover his strength. This caused his training speed to increase greatly. The true power continued to circulate, and layers of true power surged, as if the little crane was flapping its wings, and an indescribable numb feeling flowed through the meridians. Bang! Tang Tian felt as if something had suddenly cleared up, and the true power in the third-tier Dantian Pool was overflowing, and actually flowed towards the second-tier Dantian Pool. Past the White Crane Order, all elders and above, to the Crane Palace for a discussion. The elders said indifferently. With that thought, Tang Tian was ecstatic. He stood up suddenly, and his clothes fluttered without any wind, and his aura was astonishing. Chapter 38. The important task of reviving the Crane sect has been handed to you, so this thing is also the time to hand it over to you. No one was able to associate this simple and unadorned sword with a gold star treasure. My senses are very vague, and I am unable to pinpoint the area. In the vast sea of people, the chances are slim. Maybe in 10 years, maybe in my entire life, I will not get anything. Leaving the quiet and peaceful heavenly crane constellation, entering the dangerous heavens road, I can lose my life at any time. This task is dangerous, arduous, uncertain, and unknown. Who is willing to go? Elder Crane's face surfaced a look of pride. His tone was as firm as steel. A ray of flowing light, it entered Crane's palm. Yes. Crane bowed slightly. I know it is not easy for everyone. Our Crane sect has been passed down to this day, honestly speaking, not to mention the glory when it was first established, even continuing on is not easy. Everyone is under a lot of pressure. If not for our internal unity, Heavenly Crane constellation would have long changed hands. We have a long history with a glorious past, but now that we are in such a decline, talking about the past will only invite ridicule. If this goes on, no one knows how long the Crane sect can last. In the silent Crane Hall, the great clan elder sighed, directly striking at everyone's heart. The highest grade saint treasures could be counted with one's fingers: Leo constellation's raging lionheart sword, Sagittarius constellation's heavenly bow, were all saint treasures. Only the biggest constellations could produce saint treasures. As though sensing Crane's thoughts, suddenly, the crane word on the sword sheath lit up with a dazzling light aura. The word flowed like molten iron, and under Crane's shocked gaze, it slowly floated up from the sword sheath. Elder Crane could not help but reveal a smile. Crane was perfect in all aspects. The only thing that made Elder Crane uncomfortable was that he was too mature. Crane's maturity far exceeded his age, as though no matter what happened, nothing could surprise him. His white robes were as white as snow, without a speck of dust, his silver hair cascading down his shoulders. Crane immediately opened up his palm, revealing a crane-shaped imprint on his palm. Upon thinking about searching for an unknown target, and obtaining the inheritance from the other party, such a matter sounded like a joke, an impossible joke. But I can see the light of our Crane sect's revival. Elder Crane's turbid eyes shone with an indescribable light aura. If others knew that the heavenly Crane constellation had a gold treasure, when you were born, your father named you Crane, hoping that you could revitalize the Crane sect. I never thought that the heavy responsibility of the Crane sect would fall on your shoulders today. Old Crane sighed. Furthermore, Father Crane bowed slightly and calmly replied, Mother has already agreed. A hint of gratification flashed through Old Crane's eyes. Crane's heart shivered. Suddenly, a calm and steady voice resounded in the hall. Without thinking, Crane knew that to the Crane sect, it would be a calamity. Crane was slightly embarrassed, but quickly regained his composure. A tall man stepped out of the ranks. His body was as straight as a spear, and he was exceptionally eye-catching in the main hall. His face was as gentle as jade, and his expression was calm. His bright black eyes were as deep as the night sky. He opened the wooden box, and a plain ancient sword appeared in front of him. "My name is Crane. This sword is also called Crane. Are we destined to meet?" Crane looked at Elder Crane in a daze. He never thought that his sect would have such a secret. "From today onwards, it and the future of the Crane sect will be in your hands, Crane." Everyone looked at each other. They initially thought that Elder Crane's senses would at least have a rough range, but who knew that he did not even have a range? Many people think that the Heavenly Crane constellation's peak star treasure is the silver-ranked Heavenly Crane armor. Old Crane's gaze became deep. Crane was stunned when he heard that. This was the first time his expression changed since he entered the house. "That's good." Elder Crane nodded. Looking at the similar face of the Crane in front of him, another figure appeared in his mind. "When I look at you, I think of your father. I watched him grow up. You are even more outstanding than your father. Your father's spirit in heaven will definitely be gratified." There was not a single pattern on the sword's body, and it was dim. On the scabbard there was only an ancient seal, Crane. No one spoke. "Is there anyone else who is willing?" Elder Crane looked around. Disappointment flashed in Elder Crane's eyes. Crane opened the wooden box in a daze. Many of Elder Crane's words had impacted him greatly. The shocking secret of the Crane sect stunned him. He did not expect that the Crane sect that he grew up in would have such a huge secret. A gold-ranked star treasure. Crane's face was calm. "Mother loved father deeply. She is very happy that I can inherit father's dying wish." Was he going to search the entire world for it? Crane's mountain-like body trembled, and his face was filled with disbelief. "Haha, even Crane is shocked. That's rare." Elder Crane laughed. Crane bowed slightly. "Don't worry." Elder Crane's face was solemn. He stood up and walked to a corner. He picked up a dusty wooden box and returned to his seat. If this news were to spread, it would immediately cause a bloodbath. The experts would not even bother to touch the silver-ranked, Heavenly Crane armor. But the gold-ranked star treasure was something that even the legendary figures would not be able to maintain their composure. Iron, bronze, silver, gold, Saint treasures. Elder Crane gently placed the wooden box in front of Crane. The reason why the Crane sect was able to maintain the rule of the Heavenly Crane constellation was because the big powerhouses looked down on the Heavenly Crane constellation. They thought that the Heavenly Crane constellation was just a barren place. If they only knew that the Heavenly Crane constellation had a gold-ranked treasure, then many people's eyes were filled with fear. The Heavenly Crane constellation was peaceful and quiet. There were no disputes. It was like a paradise. Although there was no wealth, there was no danger. Although everyone longed for the glory of the past, they were already used to the comfort of the present. Every constellation did not only have one star treasure. All these star treasures were nurtured by the constellation for billions of years. Star treasures that were born from the same constellation would be seen as a series. These star treasures would usually have some common characteristic, but different star treasures would have a huge difference in power. Thus, people classified these star treasures into different grades. The great clan elder's expression was solemn. His gaze suddenly became sharp. He slowly swept his gaze across everyone and said, Elder Crane's low and hoarse voice resonated in the hall. Elder Crane's turbid eyes did not show any joy or anger. He nodded his head. Then let's do it. Crane's slender fingers caressed the crane word on the sword sheath. Tang Tian's Aquarius Marshall cabinet was only a black iron treasure, a beginner-grade treasure. This sword was the first star treasure that Crane's spiritual master subdued when he entered the Heavenly Crane constellation. It was also Crane's spiritual master's sword. Crane's spiritual master's strength was extraordinary. This sword had only been unsheathed 3 times in his life. Almost no one knew about it. Even the disciples around him knew about it. Crane's spiritual master seemed to have foreseen the decline of the Crane sect. To prevent people from coveting it, this sword had never appeared after Crane's spiritual master passed away. Every generation, there would be a disciple who would be chosen to be the guardian of the sword. I am this generation's guardian disciple. The Crane body was the most important part of the true inheritance that our Crane sect had lost. But now it has appeared again. To us, this is an opportunity. This might be our last chance. If we are unable to let the true inheritance return to the Crane sect, our Crane sect will be annihilated in another 10 years. So, I need someone to bring back the Crane sect's true inheritance that has been lost for 900 years. In the dark room, the oil lamp that was as big as a bean would occasionally crackle. Actually, in my heart, you are the best choice. But I did not expect, sigh. Elder Crane sighed. His gaze once again focused on the young man. You are the most outstanding disciple in the 3rd generation. With your talent, staying in the Crane sect, honestly speaking, would be a waste. If you had, your achievements today would not stop there. The Crane sect has dragged you down. Your mother is very disappointed in the Crane sect. Actually, I am very disappointed too. You are overpraising me. Crane's expression did not change. He sat upright as usual. In other words, the highest grade of star treasures signified the potential value of the constellation. Disciple Crane is willing to go. Gold rank treasures were powerful treasures that were second only to saint treasures. Every single one of them was a powerful existence that martial artists yearned for. Every single gold-rank treasure could not be circulated in the market. Only the top-grade constellations could produce gold-rank treasures. This sword, I was originally prepared to give it to your father. He was the most passionate and hopeful young man I have ever met. I always thought that the future of the Crane sect was in his hands. I did not expect that fate would make a fool out of you. After he passed away, you inherited his wishes. Maybe this is fate. Elder Crane looked at the young man sitting upright. Crane's expression was so calm that it did not match his age. Elder Crane sighed and broke the silence. Is there no problem with your mother? Elder Crane stopped laughing. His expression became solemn again. The silver rank heavenly crane clothing has always been seen as the inheritance of the Crane sect. It is the highest grade treasure of the heavenly crane constellation. The heavenly crane constellation is seen as a small constellation. This is also an important reason. But very few people know that the strongest star treasure of the heavenly crane constellation is not the silver rank heavenly crane clothing, but the gold rank crane sword. Yes, it was not easy for them in the past. Your mother is worthy of respect. Elder Crane thought about the past. He quickly regained his senses and laughed at himself. When one is old, it is easy to recall the past. Your strength, compared to all the elders, is more outstanding. I am not worried. But you are still young and do not have the experience to travel far. That is my only worry. I have roamed outside in the past. The dangers of heaven's road are everywhere. You must remember, sometimes, wisdom is more useful than fists. No one spoke. All of the elders lowered their heads. Some of them shrunk back into the crowd, afraid of being called out by Elder Crane. Elder Crane's gaze was fixated on Crane's young face. Chapter 39. Tang Tian bellowed. His face was filled with rage as he looked around for Di Han's figure. It was Tang Tian's first time participating in such a battle, but he did not have any fear in his heart. Instead, he was extremely calm. Quietly wearing the black metal gloves, he was like a leopard cat, quietly approaching, waiting for the opportunity to make a move. Tang Tian did not rush out hastily. He squinted his eyes, bent his waist, and quietly pushed aside the bamboo leaf. Suddenly, the sound of swords clashing came out from the front. Han Bingning looked at it word by word. That day when Tang Tian was fighting with the ink-black iron rhino, he went into bedevilment, which left a deep impression on her. Nan Nan's mother's face was pale white. Her body swayed as she muttered to herself, "Onyx Soul's people. Onyx Soul, Onyx Soul." Southern Cross Constellation Hardship Plate. There are two types of people who are easily bedeviled. One is special blood meridians and the other is dark martial artists. Martial artists with special blood meridians, when encountering extreme situations, the power hidden deep within their blood meridians will awaken and trigger the bedevilment state. Killers, assassins and other dark martial artists, usually killing and accumulating too many negative emotions, will also easily be bedeviled. With a wrong step, a biting cold blade aura brushed past his body dangerously and left a hole on his clothes. Crane carefully tied the sword to the silver silk belt on his waist, and smoothed out the creases on his clothes, making it spotless. His face became calm again. He bowed respectfully to Elder Crane, and then resolutely turned and left. Tang Tian flew through the sea of bamboo, his legs tapping lightly on the bamboo branches from time to time. Borrowing the elasticity of the bamboo branches, he continued to move forward. His movements were not beautiful, but his speed was extremely fast, and every step was precise. If he met any bamboo leaf bees along the way, he would use the broken shadow palm to shoot them down. The chances of ordinary people triggering bedevilment was very small. "I'm fine." Tang Tian shook his head. Nan Nan's mother was like an arrow at the end of its flight. She could only hold on with one breath, and did not retreat. Nan Nan shrunk into a corner, her face filled with fear, but she did not dare to cry, as she was afraid of distracting her mother. Bedevilment is a special state that occurs when a person's negative emotions erupt under extreme circumstances. A demonized person's strength would greatly increase, their instincts would control their body, killing, violence and other negative emotions would dominate. "What's going on?" Tang Tian regained his strength, crawled up, and went over. The black-clothed man let out a blood-curdling scream. Tang Tian's mind was completely blank. Almost subconsciously, he didn't even take a breath. His fists were like a storm, bombarding the black-clothed man's body. At this moment, Tang Tian's legs suddenly exerted force, and his entire body shot out like an arrow leaving the bow. A dazzling bolt of lightning tore through the air and slammed into the man in black's waist. Nanan's mother came back to her senses. She forced a smile at Tang Tian and said, "I really have to thank you this time. It's just that I've gotten you into trouble." Little Darling's mother's sword force became slower and weaker. The snowflakes scattered by the opponent's dual sabers became denser and denser, and the chill was bone-piercing. The surroundings were silent. The shadows of the bamboos danced in the wind, but there was no response. Dang! Nanan's mother was shocked. It could only be someone with a special bloodline. That was Nanan's house. These people were actually here for the Southern Cross Constellation bronze plate. Tang Tian was a little worried. He moved his feet, turned his body, and advanced towards the depths of the sea of bamboos. He knew where Nanan's house was. He decided to go take a look. Nanan's mother carried her sword and walked to the black-clothed man who was killed by Tang Tian. She used her sword to pry open the black-clothed man's mask, revealing an ordinary face. The black-clothed man was no longer breathing. The place where Tang Tian struck had a wound that looked like it was cut by a sharp sword. In a moment of desperation, Tang Tian did not hesitate to use the crane body energy technique. Nanan's mother struggled to get up. She took out a bamboo tube from her waist. A green bee the size of a finger flew out. The green bee buzzed around the surroundings. Nanan's mother heaved a sigh of relief. "He's gone." Jade-green swamp sea of bamboos. Nanan's mother saw Tang Tian. Her face that was filled with despair suddenly lit up. The steel sword in her hand did not retreat. But today she did not do it to pass time. Nanan's mother did not understand. Their target seems to be Nan Nan. Tang Tian did not dare to be careless. This kind of terrain, to De Haan's fighting style, was a natural hunting ground. Old Crane's gaze was deep and wise. His wrinkled face had a warm smile. Suddenly, she stopped in her tracks. Her gaze was attracted to the ancient book in her hand. Could it be that Tang Tian had some special blood meridians? The sword and the blade clashed. The steel sword shattered. Is it very powerful? Tang Tian saw that Nanan's mother's expression was not right. He quickly interrupted her. Han Bingning stood rooted to the ground. The white-clothed young man held onto his sword and walked down the winding mountain path. His steps were calm and elegant. The mountain breeze blew his silver hair. His gentle face was calm and determined. Tang Tian was a person that was full of coincidences, but as time passed, Han Bingning had a feeling that these coincidences were not coincidences. You killed the Onyx Soul's men. They will definitely not let this go. You must be careful. Nanan's mother looked at Tang Tian worriedly. Her tone was firm. I will bring Nan away from here tonight. We will go to my brother's place. Onyx Soul? It was the first time Tang Tian heard of this name. At this time, Nan finally burst into tears. Tang Tian, who was shuttling through the sea of bamboos, suddenly stopped. He looked at the time. Why wasn't Nan here yet? A few days ago, Tang Tian discovered that the second crane did not listen to his command. No matter how much Tang Tian urged it, it did not move an inch. The Wu Crane-style Qi Manual Spirit card did not have any relevant experience. When he asked Old Fartway was also at a loss. Go, say goodbye to your mother. You don't understand Onyx Soul. Nanan's mother said bitterly, Onyx Soul is an extremely terrifying and mysterious group. They are cold and emotionless. They are the infamous Dark Hunters in Heaven's Road. They have an unusual obsession with star treasures. Their power is beyond your imagination. They have a lot of experts, which is even more unusual. Onyx Soul has a very long history. When Heaven's Road was just discovered, Onyx Soul was born. They are one of the most ancient groups. He had just experienced this kind of attack a few days ago. Seeing it today, he recognized it immediately. Nanan's mother waved her steel sword and blocked a black-clothed man. The black-clothed man wore a black mask, revealing only a pair of eyes. He used dual blades. His blade techniques were strange and cold. The cold blade aura was like ice. The black-clothed man's body was surrounded by fluttering snowflakes. Facing this figure that was as straight as a sword, all words seemed to be weak and powerless. De Haan. Tang Tian's eyes were awe-inspiring. He quietly took out a pair of black metal gloves from the Aquarius Marshall cabinet. In terms of scale, even Crystal Sky could not compare to Northern Yan's library. The principals of Northern Yan were all maniac. Under the management of generations, they created a library of astonishing scale. Nanan's mother's sword sliced off the outermost layer of the black-clothed man, revealing a bronze plate. On the bronze plate, there was a bright red word, pawn. So powerful! Tang Tian's eyes widened. Slaying lightning bolt. The black-clothed man was shocked. The combination of the dual blades was his trump card. In order to kill the enemy in one strike, he did not hold back. His eyes were filled with shock. Nanan had already stopped crying. She moved over. She saw the face of the black-clothed man and exclaimed, I know him. A few days ago, I saw him asking if he had seen the cross mark. Nanan seemed to have seen it on Big Brother's hand before. But Nanan was very smart and did not tell him. Did he see through it? But Nanan acted very well. The Crane sect disciples looked at him with complicated gazes. Why would they target you guys? Tang Tian was curious. The authority of the library was strictly divided. But Han Bingning had the highest authority. She could browse through any books. There were very few people here. It was very quiet. This was where Han Bingning spent her time. Phew! Tang Tian heaved a sigh of relief. He sat on the floor. He did not feel anything when he was tense. But now that the battle was over, his limbs were sore. But for some reason, Tang Tian, who had just experienced a life and death battle, did not feel any fear. Nanan's mother's face changed. She said with a trembling voice, "Onyx Soul." Broken shadow palm and light body techniques improved quickly in the jaded swamp bamboo sea. Very quickly, a small bamboo house appeared in front. This sword had accompanied you for your entire life. It has a natural sensitivity to the martial arts of the crane sect. This time, I could sense that someone had mastered the second stage of the crane body energy. It was all thanks to this sword. Bring it with you. It can help you find the other party. I do not know who the other party is, but I believe in your ability. If even you cannot save the crane sect, then it is destined to be destroyed. The black-robed man's eyes lit up. He bellowed. The two blades became one. A crescent moon blade aura slashed down. Tang Tian's posture did not look like much, but his speed was very fast. Especially with his long true power, he could fly very far in one breath. He did not need to take a breath in the middle. Dark martial artist? Han Bingning thought about Tang Tian's cheerful look. She shook her head. How could this guy be a dark martial artist? She kept pulling out and putting them back. For the entire morning, she kept repeating the same thing. Be careful. Almost at the same time, Nan Nan exclaimed. It made Tang Tian come back to his senses. Southern Cross constellation. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. Without hesitation, he tapped lightly on the ground. His figure left a trail of afterimages in the air. The black-robed man was like a sandbag. He flew out and landed on the ground. He did not move. Tang Tian's heart trembled, the cross mark. Normally, Nan Nan would have arrived by now. Why was she not here today? Did she meet with an accident on the way? Tang Tian threw it to the side. But when he was training his light body techniques, Tang Tian realized that his endurance had become more outstanding. Chapter 40. Tang Tian was disappointed. It can't be, the Southern Cross constellation hardship plate is very powerful, they actually don't like it? Tang Tian carried a big bag on his back, and returned to Caramel Academy. As soon as he finished speaking, he pounced toward Zhou Peng. Zhou Peng looked at him with ridicule, as though he was watching a joke. Housefly cow. You bastard! How can you eat all the barbecued meat alone? A big hand suddenly appeared in front of Tang Tian, sealing off Tang Tian's path forward. Tang Tian grabbed his hair, his face black. He was in a bad mood. Nan Nan's departure made him sad. Onyx Soul was related to the Southern Cross hardship plate. He did not have any fear, even if old Fart Wei said Onyx Soul was very strong. Seems like it. Tang Tian's face twisted, although he was naturally strong, but under the pressure of all the aunties and uncles on the street, he was quickly defeated. His clothes were wrinkled, and his shoes were full of footprints. A weak sense of perception connected him with the little universe sleeve dart. With a thought, a small black arrow transformed into a ray of black light, extremely fast. Tang Tian followed the direction of the black shadow, and sucked in a breath of cold air. 10 meters away on the tree trunk, only a small hole was left. The black sleeve dart actually completely pierced through the eucalyptus tree that was more than 2 feet long. Bang! Old Fart Wei saw the fierceness in Tang Tian's eyes and suddenly laughed. I know a little. Onyx Soul is an extremely ancient organization. Oh, it can be said to be one of the oldest organizations in the world. Their organization is very tight, and their relationships are complicated. In the entire history of Heaven's Road, you can see their shadows. They walk in the dark, and do things by hook or by crook. If you are targeted by them, you will most likely die a horrible death. Young man, you're in big trouble. Stepping into the air, Tang Tian lowered his body, and the palm wind swept past his head. The congealed palm wind brushed past Tang Tian's scalp, but Tang Tian did not seem to feel it. His lowered body was like a spring, suddenly releasing strength. How is it, Tyrant Tang? Haven't I improved a little? TSK, don't worry, I won't lift you up so rudely. I'll torture you slowly. You'll be the first to taste the Zhou family's wooden heart wheel. Don't you feel honored? Zhou said softly, his eyes cold. Blood gushed out from the wound and covered his hand. Tang Tian's speed suddenly increased, his body leaving behind a blurry afterimage in the air. Only that pair of eyes drew two cold arcs in the air. Buzz. As for the rest, he would settle it with his fists. As their palms and fists collided, Tang Tian's body trembled and his feet uncontrollably retreated. When Tang Tian retrieved the hidden dart, a Maori's beast-like burp immediately brought Tang Tian back to his senses. Tang Tian's gaze fell on the thigh bone in a Maori's hand that could be used as a walking stick. He was dumbfounded. Thinking of this, Tang Tian became cheerful again. He did not need to use too much of his brain, as long as he trained with all his might. This was something he was good at. Zhou immediately screamed in fear. Looking at the corpse on the floor, his heart was filled with hatred. What bullshit, Onyx Soul, I'll remember this debt. Tang Tian, who was filled with rage, stripped the black-robed man naked, leaving nothing behind. The stripped corpse was then thrown into the swamp. Tang Tian tied the little Qian Kuan sleeve dart on his wrist, and tried to inject true power. The unknown beast's astonishing thigh bone did not have any meat left, as though it had been washed. Tang Tian's face was filled with shock. This brat's strength had actually become so strong. If the Southern Cross hardship plate was really like what old Fartway said, then Onyx Soul could actually help him find out. He opened up his palm. Unknowingly, his palm had a deep wound that revealed the bone. Why should I be afraid? Tang Tian looked at old Fartway with disdain. With his hands on his waist, he looked up at the sky and said arrogantly, I am a young lad who is determined to become a god. Onyx Soul, you are destined to be one of my defeated enemies in my grand journey. Good stuff. Tang Tian immediately went to look for the sleeve dart that he had just shot. Oh, you can keep this bronze plate. Onyx Soul only recognizes the plate, not the person. If you kill someone and take the plate, Onyx Soul will not care. But I reckon that this brat is very poor, and does not have many points. You will know in the future, Onyx Soul has a lot of things that are very convenient. For example, information. Onyx Soul's information gathering ability, no one is stronger than them. The twin blades are not bad, the standard is about the same as your Fornax series. Oh, this thing is not bad, Sagittarius Constellation's little Qian Kuan sleeve dart, a black iron treasure. You have trained in concealed weapons before, you can use it. These few star rocks are not of high grade, use them to buy things. Old Fartway looked like a profiteer. Southern Cross Constellation? Old Fartway was startled. Southern Cross Constellation is the smallest constellation, why would Onyx Soul be interested in it? You don't have to worry too much. Old Fartway consoled Tang Tian. Onyx Soul has many internal factions, it is more complicated than any other organization. Many times their actions do not truly represent Onyx Soul's intentions. If Onyx Soul is really interested in the Southern Cross hardship plate in your hands, they would not just send a few Onyx Soul soldiers. Zhou Peng's palm surfaced an undetectable green color. In his heart, he had already agreed with old Fartway's words, the brat that he killed should have a strength similar to Dihan. But if that was the case, wouldn't the brilliant idea that he had just thought of be for naught? Dihan. Old Fartway revealed a look of surprise. Onyx Soul's people are participating in the martial meet? This is really weird, they are interested in the Southern Cross hardship plate and also in the martial meet? Old Fartway's words did not reveal any emotions, his gaze was deep. Tang Tian turned his face, upon seeing Zhou, he immediately laughed. That's great! I didn't expect you to deliver yourself to my doorstep. Zhou was stunned. Suddenly, a piercing pain came from his palm. Old Fartway's gaze landed on the bronze plate. His hand immediately stopped in midair. He stood up and walked to the pile of things, squatted down, and fiddled with it for a while. Seeing Tang Tian's blank face, old Fartway explained, The stronger the constellation, the more powerful the star treasures can be. Southern Cross constellation is the smallest constellation, its star treasures should not be too strong. Onyx Soul's people are only interested in strong star treasures, strong martial technique. Unless there is some secret in the Southern Cross hardship plate? Wah, today's competition is about to start, there are so many people. Amauri looked around. Nanan burst into tears. Suddenly, a cold voice drilled into Tang Tian's ears. Yo yo yo, isn't this our tyrant Tang? Why are you in such a sorry state? Hearing Nan Nan's cries, which gradually traveled further and further, Tang Tian's heart was at a loss. Tang Tian flew into a rage and roared in the forest. This guy's standard doesn't seem too high. Tang Tian pointed to the bronze plate on the ground and said, this time in a real battle, he felt that slaying lightning bolt was the most suitable martial technique for sneak attacks out of all his martial technique. The lightning fast fist speed used for sneak attacks was always successful. Amauri's face was full of satisfaction. Old Fart Wei was speechless. Aren't you afraid? Tang Tian was about to push the hand away, but suddenly, it disappeared in front of Tang Tian. Nan Nan, say goodbye to Big Brother, we're leaving. Nan Nan's mother said with determination. As long as he worked hard to train and become stronger, Onyx Soul and the others would naturally help him find the secret of the Southern Cross hardship plate. Tang Tian suddenly grinned, and made a funny face at Zhou Peng. Hey, old fart, you know about Onyx Soul, right? Tang Tian stared at old Fart Wei. A gust of wind from the palm struck his head, and Tang Tian's expression turned cold. So fast. A trace of mockery appeared on Zhou Peng's mouth again. He extended his palm and lightly pressed it towards Tang Tian. Zhou Peng felt as if he was being locked on by a wild beast. Seems like you're in big trouble. Tang Tian's heart was in pain. He could only use his hand to rub Nan Nan's head, as if something was stuck in his throat. Although they had not spent much time together, but Nan Nan was cute and innocent, and Tang Tian liked her a lot. The Southern Cross hardship plate had already fused with him, and he was not the least bit worried that someone would snatch it away. A ferocious Chi rushed towards him. Hey hey hey, young man, this toy is very dangerous. Old Fart Wei hurriedly reminded. Amauri hugged the barbecued meat by the side and gobbled it up. He completely did not care about Old Fart Wei and Tang Tian's conversation. Old Fart Wei did not know when he came back, and was happily barbecuing meat. Amauri squatted at the side, watching anxiously. Tang Tian's face was black. He walked towards the two of them, and with a bang, he threw the package on the ground. He retreated 7 to 8 steps before he stabilized himself. Damn it! I have high hopes for these people from Onyx Soul. Tang Tian mumbled. Nan Nan's mother was also very sad, but she hardened her heart and carried Nan Nan. After saying goodbye to Tang Tian, she turned and disappeared into the sea of bamboos. They are looking for me. Tang Tian did not hide anything. They should be after my mother's relic, the Southern Cross hardship plate. Tang Tian shook his head. I don't know, I met Di Han. Although he did not show himself, but it must be him. The contents of the package were scattered all over the ground. He is just an Onyx Soul soldier. Old Fart Wei glanced at him and said, in Onyx Soul, they are not even considered as the outer circle. Onyx Soul's strength is beyond your imagination. Onyx Soul has all kinds of martial techniques, all kinds of treasures. Every member of Onyx Soul only needs to complete the corresponding missions and obtain points. As long as you have enough points, you can exchange for anything. Why is Onyx Soul so passionate about star treasures and collecting martial techniques? These things have a fatal attraction to martial artists. Not only that, as long as you can think of it, anything, as long as you have enough points, it can be provided. Tang Tian, you have to be careful. These people from Onyx Soul are very dangerous. Nan Nan's mother was filled with worry. She turned and entered the house. After a while, she had a small jar in her hands. "You have helped us so much and even saved Nan Nan. I don't have anything else to give you. This bamboo queen bee glue, keep it well, it should be enough for you to use for a period of time." Old Fartway stared at Tang Tian's face for a long time, and used his hands to cover his face. "The ignorant are fearless. I was really wrong, how could this idiot know fear?" Tang Tian's attention shifted to the spoils of war and immediately said, "Hey, old fart, help me take a look, is there anything useful in here?" Chapter 41. Zhou Peng's uncontrollable scream came from behind. Tang Tian and Amauri laughed out loud. Zhou Peng's hand was wrapped in bandages. He did not say a word. His expression was gloomy. "Seems like you are full of energy." Old Fart Wei suddenly appeared with killing intent. "This is an opportunity." The great clan elder was excited. "I never thought that our Star Wind City would have an undiscovered starry door. Haha, the heavens are helping our Zhou family. This time, no matter what, we have to get a pass." The gray mist dissipated. An expressionless young man closed his eyes and held his spear horizontally. Although the young man was lifelike, but it could be seen that he was different from a real person. His expression was indifferent. His skin and clothes were like gray glass. The two looked at each other and laughed out loud. "Although you are rookies, you only lack actual combat experience. Compared to the experts outside, you are still much stronger. Also, the experts of Wu and Star are mostly here at the Star Wind Martial Meet. City Master has thought of a brilliant idea." Old Fart Wei's eyes flashed. "But you are rookies. I'm afraid the casualties will not be small. So City Master has requested for the schools to be the unit. The top 10 will immediately get the first pass. Also, no matter the final ranking, everyone's gains from the martial meet will all belong to themselves. This is a ruthless move." Everyone's heart was filled with curiosity, especially when the City Master announced the rules for the pass. Not only did no one quit, many people rushed to the City Master's mansion, hoping to participate in the martial meet. Although it was dangerous, it often meant opportunities and riches. Riches are always accompanied by blood. If it's not your own, it's someone else's. Master Wu laughed. "Let others bleed, and we earn. If that's the case, it's too dangerous." City Master said hesitantly. "Starry door?" Tang Tian's mouth was wide open. His face was lifeless. After a while, he reacted. "Where does the starry door lead to? But this time, I'm afraid many people will die." City Master sighed. City Master has been generous for so many years. It's time to reap the rewards. Master Wu smiled. "Under the generous reward, there will be brave men. If you and I are willing, they will be able to obtain more rewards. To them, it is a good thing. For this martial meet, I am willing to represent my Wu clan and donate a bronze treasure. Crow wing spear. Housefly cow, to be able to make such a disgusting person even more disgusting, you really are my good comrade." Tang Tian also imitated Amauri and said in a serious tone. Tang Tian and Amauri were at a loss. "As long as you guys know that the pass is worth a lot of money." Old Fart Wei muttered to himself. "Seems like I have to go all out this time. If I can get my hands on a pass, Caramel Academy won't have to worry about food and drink for the next 10 years. Hiss! Old man, do you want to join us?" Tang Tian and Amauri were excited. The city lord laughed heartily. "It was Lord Wu who enlightened me. Since we have the rights to the Stargate, why don't we let everyone develop it together? Although they will share some of the benefits, in this way, if others want to snatch it from us, they will become everyone's enemy. It can also speed up the development process, so why not? Long live. Then I will start building the guards." The city lord rubbed his palms together. The temperature in the hall suddenly dropped, and the spirit card shattered, transforming into a gray mist. The gray mist churned and changed. As expected of a noble from a big place, his demeanor made the Star Wind City Lord feel ashamed. The City Lord's sudden announcement of the Stargate immediately caused Star Wind City to boil. I want to kill him. Kill him. Lord Wu put down the teacup in his hand. I have an idea. I heard that your city's Star Wind martial meet is about to begin. The great clan elder smiled. Summon it out for me to see. Honestly, I am also very curious about Grandmaster Yang Yun's isolated spirit spear. A brand new Stargate meant a huge stable income. Zhou Peng's eyes lit up. He clenched his fists tightly. What does Lord Wu mean? The City Lord was hesitant. Who cares, at most we will fight. Tang Tian said disapprovingly, then looked at Amauri in astonishment. Housefly Cow, are you afraid of him? Amauri immediately shrunk his neck. This would be a long-term and stable benefit. Well, very good, you still have the will to fight. The great clan elder nodded. He took out a silver card. This rank 4 silver ranked, isolated spirit spear. Spirit card was obtained by me when I was young. It was created by the great spear master Yang Yun. It's a pity that our Zhou family does not have any juniors who train in spear arts, so it can only be used to summon spirit generals. In this month, it can also ensure your safety. Then when do we start exploring? The City Lord looked at Lord Wu anxiously. Bang! A burst of ferocious qi, with the spirit general as the center, swept through every corner like a storm. There is a new Stargate near Martial Meet. Old Fart Wei's expression congealed. In the past, Star Wind City was a city of academies. There were not many benefits, and naturally there were no dispute. Your wisdom can make the sun lose its color. Lord Wu complimented. As long as we don't go too deep, there won't be too much danger. Their strength, if I were to say something offensive to the City Lord, I'm afraid they are more powerful than the City Lord's guards. Lord Wu glanced at the City Lord. In the past, Star Wind City did not have anything worth coveting, but now, as your business partner, I have to remind you, Star Wind City with a Stargate will make the surrounding people jealous. Wealth will always attract desperate people like moths to a flame. Controlling Star Wind City, to the current you, is the most important thing. Bang! City Lord is indeed good at business. Lord Wu looked at the crazy flow of people outside. With a face of admiration, he said, without spending anything, everyone is already fighting to the death. City Lord clapped his hands and laughed. Haha, that's great! This is such a good opportunity. Lord Wu smiled. I think there is no place in Wu and Star that has more experts than the Star Wind Martial Meet. Us? Tang Tian and Amauri were both stunned. Lord Wu smiled. City Lord is too polite. With this Stargate, it means that we have a stable source of income. I still have to thank City Lord. Star Wind City is a good place. Even the air is floating with the smell of money. Why don't we let them test the waters first? So many experts, just to use them to perform in the competition, what a waste. Lord Wu's face was full of pain. They can totally be the first wave of pioneers. City Lord was pleased. I never thought that even Lord Wu would know of the Star Wind Martial Meet. This competition can be considered to have some influence. The Wu clan of Corvus Constellation was a big clan. City Lord's face was gloomy. The other party's words hit his heart. Of course, the sooner the better. Lord Wu lightly sipped on his tea. The situation has changed. Old Fart Wei's expression became serious. He lowered his voice. This time, Star Wind Martial Meet is different from the past. And with the pass, it meant that in the future when the Stargate was opened, they would be able to have a share of the profit. The great clan elder's finger trembled. The silver card became a ray of silver light, and landed in Zhou Peng's hand. Different? Tang Tian and Amauri simultaneously raised their heads. Everyone's expression changed. City Lord's face relaxed. Lord Wu is indeed generous. Good. Since that's the case, let's do it this way. But now the Spirit General's feet were 1 foot off the ground, floating in the air. Everyone's gaze was focused on Zhou Peng. Yang Yun was a spear master 200 years ago. His most famous spear technique was the isolated spirit spear. We have already reached an agreement with Andrew Academy, both parties are working together. Zhou family patriarch said respectfully, as long as we have the pass, both parties will enjoy the rights to enter. On our side, we will be using a total of 6 experts. Who? This was a spirit general. Every starry door was a door of wealth. The great clan elder nodded his head in satisfaction. His gaze swept to the gloomy Zhou Peng and said coldly, "What's this little setback? You will have the chance to take revenge soon." When Lord Wu came to find him, he did not believe it. He did not expect that Lord Wu would really find a starry door near Starwind City. According to the contract, the starry door would be owned by him and Lord Wu. An unknown place. Old Fart Wei shook his head. That's why City Lord decided to let you guys explore. Old Fart Wei was not excited. His eyes flashed with a hint of worry. The wooden man beside Zhoupring seems to be quite powerful. Amaury revealed a look of reminiscence. Fundamental Tang, I never thought that you would be such a despicable, treacherous and cunning person. Amaury put on a straight face and said in a serious tone, but he immediately laughed, haha, but it's so cool. You can actually use the crane-style chi manual in such a sinister way, as expected of a godlike man. Zhou Peng, that sissy complex, almost pissed his pants. A fist smashed onto Amaury's head. Go! Old Fart Wei said decisively. Zhou family patriarch was immediately overjoyed. Thank you clan elder for your kindness. Peng will definitely continue to work hard and reach new height. Zhou Peng's face revealed a look of joy. He clenched his teeth. His fingers slid across the edge of the card. The thin card, in a moment, cut his fingers, and fresh blood stained the spirit card. The two of them raised their arms and cheered. Master Wu's presence is truly the honor of our Starwind City. The city lord's face was full of flattery. In front of him, a tall and skinny man, dressed in an expensive robe, with a graceful smile on his face, made people feel as though they were bathing in the spring wind. Streams of fresh blood were suddenly attracted, and entered the forehead of the spirit card. The city lord smiled, his eyes squinting. Let's get rich together, let's get rich together. Afraid of him? Amaury's eyes widened. He raised the blade in his hand and flew into a rage. Fundamental Tang, you are insulting a man who is determined to create his own martial Dao. Only with a duel can you wash away this humiliation. The spirit general suddenly opened his eyes. Where does the star door lead to? What's there? Starwind City Lord's residence. Security was tight. Tang Tian, under Zhou Peng's screams, disappeared into the crowd with Amaury. Chapter 42. Who? Did I succeed? Who? It was extremely dull, without any joy. Again and again, he unleashed the martial techniques that he felt he was extremely familiar with. Training, meditating, training again, meditating again. Yuan, do your best. Kill them. The two of them shouted at the same time, then looked at each other and laughed. Pooh! Tang Tian's face did not have the usual playful and untamed look, only concentration. The face that usually did not have a serious look was now as sharp as a knife, just like his gaze. Tang Tian curiously sized up the starry door. He suddenly realized the starry door in front of him and the light door in his body were similar. Other than not having the cross mark, everything else seemed to be the same. After sleeping for an unknown period of time, when Tang Tian woke up in a daze, it was already late at night. An intense feeling of hunger filled his entire body. His limbs were weak. Tang Tian felt that he could eat a cow. No one spoke to him. He could only hear the wind from his fists, his intense heartbeat and the sound of sweat dripping onto the stone floor. Amaury's expression relaxed a little. He suddenly asked, Fundamental Tang, are you not afraid? Tang Tian was stunned. If the housefly cow was roaring and training, Tang Tian would completely ignore it. That fellow was a training maniac. But to have such a worried look was really rare. Let's start from tomorrow's battle, defeat one enemy after another. Even if we lose, we will not be afraid. Even if we die, we will not retreat. Tang Tian said, "Let's fight side by side and kill them all. Let's go in." Old Fart Wei walked at the front, his expression congealed. He held a tattered, rusty-looking iron blade that looked like it was found in a rubbish heap. Every fist was sweat, every fist was a battle. Tang Tian looked at Zhou Peng, seeing Zhou Peng staring at him. He suddenly had an idea. He lowered his head and whispered a few words into Amauri's ear. Amauri nodded, and looked at Zhou Peng with ill intentions. Amauri was stunned. Tang Tian and Amauri hurriedly followed, and stepped into the light door. With a thunderous roar, Tang Tian took a step forward like lightning and punched out. Tang Tian slowly punched out. Amauri's eyes widened and his cheeks puffed up. As if he was using all his strength, he slowly punched out. The fist and the palm collided lightly. Tang Tian recognized Han Bingning at first glance. He jumped up and waved his hands, shouting, "Aha! Young girl, good luck!" Amauri came back to his senses and scratched his head. "When I was young, I thought that was cool. When I grew up, I didn't know why, but whenever I thought about this, I would be filled with motivation and my blood would boil. Maybe I thought it was something amazing." Suddenly, his body trembled, as if something had suddenly opened up within him. The first ray of sunlight pierced through the forest and landed on the youth's palm. "Thank you for your compliment." Amauri bowed respectfully. The first batch to enter the starry door was the Crystal Sky Academy. Walking in front was the principal of Crystal Sky. Sima Xiangshan was in second place, but everyone had a solemn expression. The second batch was the Northern Yen Academy. Similarly, it was led by the principal, but it was all female students. They carried swords and walked, looking valiant and formidable, extremely eye-catching. "What are you afraid of?" Tang Tian patted Amauri's shoulder with force. "You are a man who wants to create your own martial path. Just treat it as a form of training. There is nothing to worry about. If there is any danger, everyone will kill it together." This punch seemed to have used up all the true power in Tang Tian's body. The exhaustion caused his mind to go blank. He maintained the posture of the punch, not moving an inch. Tang Tian raised his right palm. The two palms clapped in the air. Amauri suddenly held his palm and screamed in an even more hair-raising voice, "I want to kill you! I want to kill you!" Tang Tian chewed on the flatbread and said to himself, "When this is over, I will go find Xie. Even if I leave, I will leave with a victory. That way, I will not regret it." Back in his room, Tang Tian laid on the floor and slept soundly. After a long time, it was Caramel Academy's turn. First. Amauri was dumbstruck. "Your acting is too despicable." Tang Tian gave a thumbs up. Amauri shook his head. "What is there to be afraid of? Anyway, it is training. With a cool and handsome goal, I am more motivated. The unchanging days were really too boring. So young, yet I do not want to do anything. Even the heavens would feel that it is a pity." At the same time, his huge body resembled a wild beast. He mimicked the writhing movements of an injured person. It was indescribably disgusting and terrifying. "Housefly cow, I will grind your bones to dust." Tang Tian suddenly turned his face. "Housefly cow, why do you want to create your own martial Tao?" Suddenly, his gaze landed on the training grounds. Tang Tian. "Amauri! What a powerful spirit general! What a powerful aura! Pa!" The two of them laughed out loud. Zhou Peng's figure became even more pathetic. Even his spirit general seemed to be overshadowed. Even the Zhou family subconsciously distanced themselves from Zhou Peng. Tang Tian and Amauri's move was too vicious. With the flatbread in his mouth, Tang Tian appeared beside Amauri in a few leaps. Han Bingning's eyes twitched. Han Bingning stopped in her tracks. The female students behind her lowered their heads and chuckled. "It must be a famous general card." Tang Tian pretended to smile. "That's great. I did not expect you to deliver yourself to me." Han Bingning regained her senses and immediately replied. Yes, Principal. Only the cross-light door knew of Tang Tian's hard work and sweat. The starry door was heavily guarded. In this space where time did not flow, Tang Tian's lonely figure remained the same. Food, food, fly out, fly out. The starry door was located in a remote valley in a karst cave. The top of the karst cave had been excavated and expanded. It was obvious that it had been completed not long ago. After interacting with a Maori for a long time, Tang Tian understood a Maori very well. Don't judge a Maori based on his appearance. Inside, he was extremely kind and timid. Tang Tian was startled. He comforted him. Don't worry. This godlike young lad will help you. Zhou Peng's face was as red as a fire. He clenched his fists so hard that they turned white. The mocking gazes made him feel an unprecedented humiliation. The two strange actions immediately attracted the attention of the people around them. Oh, so this is Tang Tian? The principal in front suddenly turned his head and asked. All the true power in his body was like countless strings being plucked at the same time. Countless ripples, like thousands of streams returning to the origin, converged on Tang Tian's fist. His gaze followed the fist. Don't be afraid. Tang Tian leaned on the railings. While munching on the flatbread, he said, I have thought about it. I want to take first place and give it to Old Fart Wei. Old Fart Wei gave me the crane-style chi manual. He is a good person. Although I don't know why Old Fart Wei is so powerful and still guarding Caramel Academy, I think he must have his reasons. Everyone has something they want to fight for. Since this is what Old Fart Wei wants to do, I will help him. I want to defeat the others and take first place for Old Fart Wei. With the pass, Caramel Academy will definitely be very powerful in the future. When that time comes, I will beg Old Fart Wei to recruit Teacher Tsen to Caramel Academy. Teacher Tsen is a very good teacher. After doing all these, I will have no worries to find Chia and go to Heaven's Road. Oh, this is my goal this time. I want to complete it. Time is up? Isolated Spirit Spear. Oh my god! It's the Isolated Spirit Spear. A Maori suddenly imitated Zhou Peng. He pinched his voice and used a voice that would cause one's hair to stand. Yo yo yo, isn't this our school Tyrant Tang? Why are you in such a sorry state? An indescribable tremor started from the third-tier Dantian pool and quickly spread to every corner of his body. The light in Tang Tian's eyes exploded. He took a deep breath and the true power in his body surged. The fist that he had just retracted suddenly punched out. Other than the time when he was in deep sleep, Tang Tian did not waste any time at all. But Tang Tian swallowed his saliva and muttered to himself as he frantically searched for food. Luckily, everyone in Caramel Academy was a foodie. This place was far from Star Wind City, so they had plenty of food on hand. Tang Tian quickly took out a few pieces of flatbread and started wolfing them down. In front of the starry door, there were many students waiting to enter the starry door. Surprisingly, the mayor rejected the idea of registering again. But for those who were not students to register, they could form a team to fight against the other academies. His heavy breathing was like a bellow, perspiration flowed down Tang Tian's cheek. His face that was as sharp as a knife seemed to have solidified into a sculpture. When it was Andrew Academy's turn, the crowd exclaimed for the first time. The stunned Maori's gaze seemed to have something breaking out of his cocoon. He said seriously, Fundamental Tang, you are right. A martial arts path that cannot bring victory has no meaning. Then are you afraid? Tang Tian munched on the flatbread again. I am afraid that after putting in so much effort, I will not be able to get anything. I am afraid that after putting in so much effort, I will be further and further away. The number on the starry door jumped from 100,000 to 200,000 to the current 990,000. The wind from the fist reverberated behind the starry door. Tang Tian's fist silently landed on the fog wall. A Maori raised his head and mumbled, I am going to the starry door tomorrow, I I am a little nervous. Alright, this question is a little too complicated. A Maori leaned on the railing, as if he was thinking about something. Then why are you afraid of fighting? Tang Tian finished the last small piece of flatbread, turned his face and looked at a Maori seriously. You are so hard-working in training, all for the sake of creating your own martial arts path. All martial arts are for the sake of victory. What is the meaning of a martial arts path that cannot bring victory? Only by fighting can there be a possibility of victory. Every victory was like a step. With every victory you would be closer to your goal. The stronger your enemy is, the more you defeat him, the stronger and more perfect your martial arts path will become. This is truly a difficult battle. The world around them spun. The two of them separated, facing each other. Genius young man, the fog wall in front of them suddenly collapsed like an avalanche, turning into countless of fine fog particles, dissipating in the air. Zhou Ping did not feel the slightest bit pleased with himself. He stared at Tang Tian with hatred and hatred, his eyes filled with killing intent. When he was extremely tired, he only needed to close his eyes, and Tang Tian would fall asleep. Tang Tian and a Maori gave each other a high five excitedly. Minute collapsing fists, low and trembling sound, lingered in the ears. True power was like a bowstring, being plucked over and over again. The extremely simple and dull training quietly flowed by. Sweat had long soaked through his clothes. In the rising steam, Tang Tian was like a machine, repeating the same action over and over again. Tang Tian's loud shouts sounded out again. Han Bingning could almost imagine. Shen Yuan definitely wanted to find a hole to hide in. Her emotions immediately calmed down. Housefly cow, what's on your mind? Tang Tian wolfed down his food and said vaguely. Who? I succeeded, who. But why is the cross door in my body? As expected of a genius young man. Northern Yen principal praised. His voice was extremely soft, as though he did not use any strength. Pung. The two of them who were self-directing and self-acting, could no longer hold it in and laughed out loud. The surrounding people then realized, the matter of Zhou Ping and Tang Tian having a conflict on the street, had long been spread. They did not expect the two of them to actually recreate the scene of that day. A Maori's acting was extremely comical, and many people could not help but laugh. Collapse. Could the cross door be a star door? I heard, this kind of opening is very dangerous. A Maori mumbled. As expected, happiness comes from competition. Chapter 43. Watch my toad slash. On the ground beneath his feet, there was a purple grass growing. Looking at it, it was like a purple ocean with no end in sight. Tang Tian and a Maori's jaws dropped, looking at the sea of purple grass in shock. Who are you trying to fool? Tang Tian and a Maori were dumbstruck. This works too. Amidst the quarrel, the three of them moved very quickly. Old Fart Wei's light body technique was the best, his speed was fast, and it looked like it was effortless. Tang Tian's speed was not slow either. The rank 3 8 steps overtaking Cicada was not suitable for traveling, but Tang Tian's chi channels were long, and he maintained a relatively fast speed. A Maori's light body technique was of a different style, as though he was sprinting. Every step he took would sink deep into the ground, and every step he took would cover a distance of a few feet, rumbling, shocking. Purple cloud grass, non-poisonous uses. Unknown. Fundamental Tang, let's fight to our heart's content. A Maori said subconsciously. The purple shadow was cut into two, and fell into the purple cloud grass. Old Fart Wei's eyes twitched. True Eye Cylinder, Microscopia Constellations, Star Treasure, Black Iron Rank. Old Fart Wei passed the cylinder to Tang Tian. I don't know about this. Old Fart Wei said irresponsibly. Let me see. A Maori snatched it. Young lad Tang, have you found any clues about your second crane body? Old Fart Wei asked while flying. As they went deeper, they could not see anyone else. Fornax constellation is a very special constellation, and it is the only constellation without any star treasures. The Fornax people are experts in forging. They use the Fornax fragments and add them into the smelting process to obtain the unique Fornax weapons. Old Fart Wei said frankly with assurance. So the classification of the Fornax weapons is very similar to the star treasures. Try to inject your true power into the weapon and then call it. He coughed lightly. This is called the Black Iron Fire, and is the unique property of the Fornax weapons, but not many people know about it. In the future, you will encounter all kinds of weapons and treasures. Remember, only by obtaining their recognition can you display their true strength. In the past, I was afraid that you would rely too much on its power, but now… Be careful! Old Fart Wei suddenly exclaimed. Who? At this time, the sky had already begun to darken. The dusk here was not the usual orange, but a very rare color. Watch my mad bull blade slash. Old Fart Wei's eyes flashed a strange look. The two of them immediately pricked up their ears. These two fellows, the two of them worked together seamlessly, advancing at lightning speed. The purple shadow just now was a cluster of purple vines that crisscrossed each other like a circular net. The inside of the net was full of sharp, jagged barbs. Tang Tian and Amauri felt a chill run down their spines. If he was accidentally covered by it, wouldn't that be? Old Fart Wei was stunned. You want to get first place? Amauri's body shrunk into a ball. The black iron saber in his hand slashed out a saber light towards Ziying. If you want to get first place… Old Fart Wei thought for a while and said, unless we can get the Star Lexicon Spirit Stone. Tang Tian's hands were holding 7 to 8 fishing rods. The fishing rods were spread out in a fan shape, and every fishing rod had a toad hanging on it, croaking non-stop. It was extremely mighty and majestic. Amauri carried his saber and followed Tang Tian like a tiger watching its prey. Old Fart Wei leisurely followed behind the two of them. Seeking water sail, Vela Constellation's treasure, black iron grade. Old Fart Wei explained. It only has one use, and that is to find a water source within a distance of 200 miles. Amauri carried his black iron long saber and was filled with killing intent. You actually used a silver grade card to trick me. Sounds a little silly. Tang Tian muttered, but he still injected true power into the black iron gloves and raised his head. How do I summon it? On the vast purple grasslands, many figures could be seen. Those with good light body techniques could only be seen as small black dots. Old Fart Wei raised his head and looked at the vast purple grasslands and said, You guys must be careful. Amauri looked at Tang Tian. I support Fundamental Tang. We want to be number one. Behind the cross door was a vast purple grasslands. Another purple figure appeared. Deceiving a child, should we hurry up? Amauri asked. Watch my downwind blade slash. To deal with these kinds of things, I have my own unique skills. Old Fart Wei said. In his hands there was a fishing rod. At the tip of the fishing rod there was a toad tied to it. Old Fart Wei then realized that he had been exposed. He laughed. Actually, this thing, I specially asked a friend to borrow it. Old Fart Wei was well prepared. He took out a tent and set it up. No. Tang Tian said helplessly. No matter how the second crane body is tossed around, it doesn't move an inch. Forget it. But Minute Collapsing Fist has some breakthroughs. There were many snow-white stones by the lake. Old Fart Wei used his true eye to look at them. They were called snowflower stones. It was a higher-grade stone material. But to the three of them, it had no value. Just as Amauri's feet were about to step on the ground, he was alarmed. Coincidentally, he heard Old Fart Wei's exclamation. He instinctively retracted his feet. Amauri's face turned pale. You tyrant! You actually lied to us that you were poor. Tang Tian's face turned black. Old Fart Wei kept his water-seeking sail and walked in front. As an old bird, I have to tell you two rookies. Sometimes there are many inconspicuous, low-grade star treasures that can save your little life. Tang Tian tried to call out to it. With luck, Tang Tian gently shouted, "Fornax." Old Fart Wei looked like he was performing a magic trick. In his hands there was a beautiful mini-boat. The small boat was not as big as a palm, but it was very exquisite. The most eye-catching thing was the sail. Old Fart Wei injected true power into the small boat. The sail spun and finally pointed in a direction. A purple shadow suddenly appeared from the ground. Tang Tian suddenly asked, "Hey, Old Fart, how do we get first place?" After a while, just as Tang Tian thought that Old Fart Wei was talking nonsense, suddenly, he felt a faint connection with the black metal glove. Could it be that Old Fart Wei was not joking? Old Fart Wei walked a few steps forward. The fishing rod in his hand swept horizontally. Suddenly, a purple shadow jumped out from the grass. Faster? You must remember, in an unfamiliar environment, do not rush forward recklessly. Old Fart Wei looked very experienced. He raised his head and looked at the sky. The time difference here and Star Wind City should be about 7 hours. It will be dark soon. We must find a safe place to camp. It's so beautiful. Tang Tian was shocked. Tang Tian and Amauri were completely dazzled by Old Fart Wei's endless number of star treasures. Tang Tian and Amauri then saw clearly. What is this? Tang Tian pointed to the small cylinder in Old Fart Wei's hand. Tang Tian stared blankly at the gloves that were wrapped in flames. Amauri learned from Tang Tian and shouted to the black metal long blade, "Fornax." Tang Tian and Amauri's faces turned pale. The color of the purple net cage was exactly the same as the purple cloud grass. It was mixed in the grass and was extremely difficult to distinguish. The vast sea of purple grass in front of them instantly became dangerous in the eyes of the two. Whoosh! Old Fart Wei took out a few black stones and lit them up. The stones roared as they burned brightly. Old Fart Wei said that they were called camp stones and could burn for an entire night. "This is a star treasure," Old Fart Wei said proudly. "It was my spoils of war when I was young. How is it? It's powerful, right?" "Oh, right, both of your Fornax black metal martial technique. Although it is not a star treasure, if you use it well, its power is not small." Whoosh! The flames emitted from the blade. Amauri looked like he was holding a flaming knife. He said curiously, "Wow! So powerful." A purple shadow suddenly jumped out from the grass. Amauri moved and unsheathed his long blade. The toad croaked. Tang Tian and Amauri looked at each other, not knowing what Old Fart Wei was trying to do. Tang Tian took it. The small cylinder was rather heavy. There was a piece of glass embedded in it. Tang Tian copied Old Fart Wei and plucked a purple grass and placed it under the small cylinder. A line of words appeared on the glass. N. Tang Tian nodded with a serious face. Lines of straight colored lines appeared in the sky. It was like the arrangement of colored piano keys. It was breathtakingly beautiful. A bright red flame suddenly emitted from the glove. Tang Tian's fist was wrapped in a ball of bright red flame. Tang Tian did not feel hot at all. However, the purple grass on the ground quickly withered and lost its moisture. Old Fart Wei took out the true eye cylinder and shone it at the half of the net vine. He said, "Be careful. It's called the purple net vine. It's very dangerous. The sawtooth has paralyzing poison. Look, this thick tube contains corrosive digestive fluid. Its roots are useful, but it's too deep in the soil. It's too troublesome to dig it out." Wah wah wah. It's so beautiful. Amauri could not believe it. He stared blankly at the sea of grass in front of him. The three of them sat around the bonfire and chatted. Old Fart Wei's face congealed. He carefully walked to the place where the purple shadow fell and flicked his blade. Wah wah wah. This is so powerful. Tang Tian exclaimed. "Huh." Old Fart Wei did not even unsheathe his blade. He flicked his wrist and slashed. The purple shadow was split into two and fell into the grass. Old Fart Wei was the first to regain his senses. He plucked a stalk of purple grass from the ground. Unknowingly, he had a small cylinder in his hand. Old Fart Wei shone the cylinder on the purple grass and heaved a sigh of relief. There's no poison. Tang Tian. Amauri borrowed the strength of his blade and shot towards Tang Tian's position. Tang Tian extended his hand and grabbed Amauri. Amauri's face turned pale. It was just an instinctive reaction. Now that he regained his senses, his face was frighteningly pale. The three of them walked for about 4 hours before they finally found a water source. A huge lake appeared in front of them. The lake was like a sapphire, crystal clear. Arriving at the lakeside, there were many different kinds of creatures. Monkeys flying around with wings, lizards that looked like fish, and many brightly colored birds flew across the lake. Old Fart Wei decided to camp here. There were many wild beasts here, which meant that there were no large-sized wild beasts. It was relatively safer. As expected of young man Tang. Chapter 44. Hee hee. Old Fart Wei's lips curled into a playful smile. Since we have decided to be first, then we have to speed up. Let me, as a senior, tell you two rookies how to find the Star Lexicon Spirit Stone. 2 hours later, the three of them finally arrived at the foot of the snowy mountain. Old Fart Wei raised his head and looked at the towering mountain peak. The peak of the mountain was covered with snow that never melted. The red mountain body was very special. He knocked a red rock from the ground and placed it under the true eye cylinder. Let's play rock, paper, scissors, Tang Tian said. Wah wah wah, let's go. In the end, we have to rely on our strength. Old Fart Wei said confidently. Tang Tian awoke and looked around. Where's Old Fart Wei? Where's Amauri? Tang Tian looked up at the sky. As the sunlight grew stronger, the colorful keyboard patterns in the sky disappeared. Tang Tian and Old Fart Wei pulled Amauri and quickly rushed into the yellow light barrier. In his hands there was a black fan-shaped object. The outer arc of the fan was a sliding guide rail. On it there were many complex patterns carved on it. There was a pointer-like hard rod, with the end resting on the outer arc guide rail. Morning came. It was as though the sky was covered with colorful keyboard patterns. Once again, it appeared above the heads of the three of them. The three of them did not feel tired from rushing through the night. They were still full of energy. Suddenly, Tang Tian's eyes twitched. He quickly pointed far away. There's someone there. Who? Star Lexicon Spirit Stone? Tang Tian and Amauri opened their eyes wide. Their faces were full of curiosity. The Star Wind Martial Meet was an eye-opener for them. They heard many things that they had never heard before. It was a cave about the same size as the training ground. There were 4 other caves around it. Each cave was also enveloped in a red, white, black and green light. In such a big cave there was only one person. Why did he win? Tang Tian asked blankly. We can only rely on luck. Old Fart Wei waved his hand. The oscillator can capture all sorts of undulations within 100 miles. Strong true power undulations, treasures energy undulations, spirit generals martial spirit undulations, etc. Old Fart Wei explained. He adjusted the oscillator in his hands and injected true power. Old Fart Wei stared. Old and slow reaction? Bullshit. Come on. I'll let you little brats experience what it means to be old. Ginger is spicier. 30 years of experience in rock, paper, scissors. I didn't expect you to actually like such a fresh color. Old Fart Wei returned to normal, pretending to be indifferent to cover up his sluggishness. Amauri casually pointed at a lemon-yellow light shield. This one, I like this color. The valley was deeper than he had imagined. After flying for a quarter of an hour, he finally reached the end of the valley. Tang Tian and Amauri finally understood. At that moment, there was a sudden sound of footsteps. Tang Tian hurriedly shouted, Hey, old man, housefly cow! Long live! Yes, why? Old Fart Wei was also stunned. Let's go this way. Huh! Old Fart Wei's eyes flashed a strange look. What's wrong? Tang Tian quickly asked. In a daze, Tang Tian didn't know how long he had been sliding. Plop! Tang Tian fell onto a hard rock. The three people's screams echoed in the cave. There are powerful experts fighting, there are powerful energy undulations. Old Fart Way's expression was a little strange. He suddenly stood up, closed his eyes and opened his arms in the night wind. After a while, he opened his eyes and shook his head. Don't care about the others. Oh, Tang Tian replied. It's the labyrinth of spirits. Old Fart Way's face was a little ugly. Old Fart Way looked at the two of them for a long time. Suddenly, he looked up to the sky and laughed wildly. Ha ha! I didn't choose the wrong person. Such an impassioned young man. Even my heart, which has been silent for so many years, can't help but palpitate with excitement. Then let's fight. Let's get first place. He clenched his fist and stared at Old Fart Way seriously. He said word by word, even if it's dangerous, I want to be first. You can buy it, as long as you have enough money. Iron and bronze rank star treasures could still be bought in the market. I heard that silver rank star treasures can be bought too, but I've never seen it before. As for you not knowing about it, that's normal. Even if it's an iron star treasure, it's worth a lot. The point is, in a place like Wuan Star, it's impossible to buy it. Hey, I'm such a wise old man. I will definitely not play such childish games with you, brat. Old Fart Way said with a look of disdain. Old Fart Way was unmoved. Do you know? Crystal Sky and Northern Swallow Beast. They must be searching for the Star Lexicon Spirit Stones. If we choose the same target, we will definitely meet them. The nature of this martial meet has completely changed. Now, every opponent is filled with danger. If they have the chance, they will not hesitate to kill you all. This is not a competition, this is a battle of life and death. Tang Tian, I didn't expect it to be you. Suddenly, a tall red mountain peak appeared in everyone's vision. Everyone's spirits were roused, and they increased their speed towards the mountain peak. After a bitter battle, under the two's incredulous gaze, a Maori walked to the cliff. That's right. Old Fart Way's eyes flashed a cold aura. Sexton's Constellation's star treasure, black iron rank, called Oscillation Apparatus. Sexton's Constellation is a dark constellation between Gemini Constellation and Hydra Constellation. Remember the true eye cylinder just now? That is Microscopium Constellation. It is located south of Scorpio Constellation, between Heavenly Crane Constellation and Sagittarius Constellation. Sexton's Constellation and Microscopium Constellation's star treasures are almost all support-type star treasures. There are very few battle-type star treasures. But don't look down on support-type star treasures. In the future, you will know that support-type star treasures are usually more versatile than battle-type star treasures. Tang Tian and Amauri's jaws dropped. They stared blankly at the unbelievable scene in front of them. Amauri suddenly pointed to a place not far away. Look, there's a valley there. Everyone's gaze turned over. All the girls' eyes were filled with disdain and contempt. Labyrinth of Spirits? Tang Tian and Amauri looked at each other. It was the first time they had heard of this name. Childish? This is obviously a challenge of hand speed. If you are afraid of losing, just say it. Don't worry, I know. I am old, and my reaction is slower. I can understand. Tang Tian retorted sarcastically. Tang Tian and Amauri were on high alert. Old Fart Way's mouth twitched. Tang Tian used his hands to cover his face. Then which one should we enter? Tang Tian looked at the wall of colorful lights. He felt dizzy. There are too many. Star treasures, star lexicon spirit stones and the like. They will usually form a unique force field around them. These force fields have been nurtured for thousands of years. They will become one with the environment. This is the labyrinth of spirit. Old Fart Way's gaze deepened. Seems like the star lexicon spirit stones are indeed inside. Be alert. Be careful of people trying to assassinate you from behind. Old Fart Way said softly. Every planet will give birth to a unique type of soul stone. Their aura is one with the planet. As long as you can control it, you will be able to assimilate into the planet faster. Some people have guessed that it is the original embryo of the star treasure. But this conjecture is still unconfirmed. Once you have the Star Lexicon Spirit Stone, you can build a base here. A base with the Star Lexicon Spirit Stone, within a radius of 200 miles, will not be attacked by wild beasts. Old Fart Wei's face was solemn. For any exploration of a planet, a safe base is the most important. If we can find the Star Lexicon Spirit Stone, we will definitely be first. Why do they have so many star treasures? Amaury asked. When I was in Beast Academy, I never heard that the school had any star treasures. Old Fart Wei was stunned. Many people had already seen the valley and were rushing towards it. The three of them rushed towards the valley. The entrance of the valley was not wide. It was only 7 to 8 feet wide. It was surrounded by red rock. As expected, as they continued to advance, the number of people around them increased. In the vast purple grasslands, the martial artists were like agile antelopes, running and skimming at lightning speed. Tang Tian and the other two increased their speed. Then let's hurry and find the Star Lexicon Spirit Stone. Tang Tian raised both his arms. The three of them kept their tents and followed Old Fart Wei, advancing with all their might. The two of them raised their arms and shouted. Old Fart Wei glanced at them and retracted his gaze. Crystal Sky Academy, their star treasures are much better than mine. It's not strange to find them. A red cliff appeared in front of them. The cliff was extremely high, and the surface was smooth and flat, as though it had been polished by humans. What made Tang Tian and Amaury feel the most inconceivable was that there were countless of caves on the cliff. They were densely packed, and every cave was covered with a layer of faint light. These light barriers were of different colors. They looked like colorful bubbles hanging on the cliff. A figure walked out from the cave with the white light barrier. Who wants to pick? Amaury looked at the sky. They did not meet with any danger during the night. The three of them were extremely fast. Along the way, Old Fart Wei would occasionally take out the oscillation device to adjust their direction. Rocks, unknown type, unknown use. Amaury shouted along. First. I support fundamental Tang. Amaury said. That's right. Amaury clenched his fist, and with a serious face, he said loudly. Very yellow and very violent, I like violence. Wah, I want violence, I want absolute violence, I want absolute yellow. Wah. Let's be very yellow and very violent together. Woo-ao. The needle of the oscillation device suddenly slid, pointing in a direction and constantly trembling. Tang Tian's smile disappeared, and he nodded. I know, but so what? Don't tell me we should retreat just like that? I don't want to. I want to be first. Tang Tian felt that Old Fart Wei was too mystical. There were all sorts of strange things, and he pointed and asked, What is this? Is it also a star treasure? Tang Tian and Amaury listened attentively. They realized that this world was much more vast, profound, and interesting than they had imagined. Old Fart Wei adjusted the oscillation device again, and this time, the needle pointed in a direction. Upon entering the light barrier, the three of them felt a strong suction force. They did not have time to react, and were sucked into the depths of the cave by this strong and astonishing suction force. Tang Tian was in so much pain that he grimaced, and opened his eyes in a daze, and climbed up shakily. The experience just now was too horrifying, his legs felt weak, and his head was dizzy.